Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the shit show, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And I hope we got some juicy tidbits for you tonight to piss you off or make you happy or whatever, because it's always some kind of shit going on. But I want to say thank you to Ruben for joining me this evening. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Orange Hat, again. I really appreciate you hanging out with me on Friday night. And thank you, Emperor, again for joining us.
I'm waving my hands. You just can't see it.
But yeah, we got a little bit of shit that we want to talk about. But before we do that, I just want to say thank you to Chris Moore, who stopped in, and Low Spec. Thank you very much. And Papa Cotton, hi. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. And hopefully we'll get a few more people in here. But I want to start off tonight with this little tidbit. So let me open it real quick. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Can you see it?
Give it a second.
I can. I'm just being quiet to make you doubt yourself.
Yeah.
But you can see this?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna play this, and then we can talk about it. Okay, here we go. Where's the?
Was everywhere.
Much and I. Good to see you.
And some people actually believed he was innocent, which is the craziest part. They found his blood at the scene. Okay, he just did it. Okay, he had a record of beating his wife, and he just obviously did it. And then he later kind of admitted that he did it in a book, and then he lost the civil trial. But there were still people who defended him. I remember Norm Macdonald, the late great Norm Macdonald, made a joke. It was the best joke of all of the OJ jokes. And Norm had made about 1 billion OJ jokes because he and SNL writer Jim Downey had just pummeled OJ constantly in the 90s. And Don Ohlmeyer, who was an NBC executive who was, I think, OJ's best friend, was so angry about this that he fired the writer Jim Downey. And then Norm said that if Downey was gone, Norm was going to quit too. And so it lost Norm the main spot on Saturday Night Live. But of all the jokes, the best one came at one of the, was it the ESPYs or I don't know, one of the sports awards. Norm was the MC. And here was his joke about the Heisman Trophy.
And there's Charles Woodson. How about that? What a season he had. Great, man. He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case... All bets are off. It's a word of advice.
So you see in that scene, and just a cutaway to the audience reaction, it tells you everything you need to know about the OJ trial and the aftermath. There were 5 people pictured there, 2 white guys, 3 black guys, all athletes, one would imagine. And one black guy kind of puts his head in his hands. He's trying to muffle a laugh. Another black guy, is that Ken Griffey? Ken Griffey Jr.? Can't quite tell. I don't want to commit a racism by mixing someone up, but this was like 30 years ago. Is there not laughing, shaking his head. Then the third black guy is laughing. Then you look right behind him, the one white guy, he's laughing. The second white guy to his left is just doesn't know how to react. He's not laughing. This summed it up. This summed it up. Why was this a racial trial? It was a racial trial because OJ obviously did it. So the dream team of lawyers, which included Alan Dershowitz, which included Johnny Cochran, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit, which I guess included Robert Kardashian. Though Robert Kardashian was part of OJ's dream team of lawyers, in large part because he was a friend of OJ. He was going to let his law license lapse, actually. But by joining his legal team, he wouldn't have had to testify against OJ. And he hung around OJ and his murdered wife before she was gone a fair bit, and was aware of the tensions in their marriage. So he didn't want to testify against him. So he ends up on the lawyer team. Then they realized the guy was guilty as sin. So the only way that they could possibly win was by making it a racial case and tying it to the Rodney King beating, which was this career criminal who was beaten up by the LAPD, and it worked. It totally worked. In fact, one of the jurors from that case admitted it years later. Said, "Yeah, we knew, basically all of us, that he was guilty, but this was kind of our revenge."
Do you think that they're members of the jury?
that voted to acquit OJ because of Rodney King?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How many of you think felt that way?
Oh, probably 90% of us.
90%? Did you feel that way?
Yes.
That was payback.
Uh-huh.
You think that's right?
Wow, even she won't say that it's right, just puts her hands in the air. Because obviously it wasn't right. It's a great injustice. It was an injustice to this poor murdered woman. It was an injustice to her friend, Ron Goldman. It was any miscarriage of justice undermines the broader system of justice. When the libs say, justice, no one, I forget their stupid slogan, but it's something to the effect of no one will have justice until everyone has justice. In a way, that's kind of true, because justice is just giving to people what they deserve. So, if people are not getting what they deserve, it throws off the whole system in a body politic. And that is what happened here. And then the cynical playing of the race card set race relations way back. It created a lot of anti-cop fervor. And it gave us this term, the N-word. It worsened race relations in as much as there was a rumor that one of the cops, one of the detectives, had said the N-word. He didn't say the N-word. He said the actual word, which you're no longer allowed to say because it's a term that's more taboo than the ancient Israelites considered the holy name. And they were going to introduce this into evidence, and the prosecutor, the assistant DA, and the judge both said, "Man, this is catastrophic potentially. This is the nastiest word in the English language. It's so loaded. There's no way that the trial is going to be conducted fairly if that word is introduced." And what's amazing is if you look at coverage of the case and the word before this testimony was introduced, when the New York Times would write about the N-word, they would just write out the word. N-I-G-G-E-R. You truly, because of this case, you actually can't say this word even in a clinical reporting sense anymore in public. But before you could. The New York Times would write this word all the time. After the case, they would never write it anymore. They would only write the euphemism, the N-word. Totally shifted taboos on not just on race, but on cops, on justice, on criminals, on victims. So what do? We should pray for OJ. You should pray for the soul of everyone who died. I guess we pray for his victims too. And pray for Norm, who never got to see the final. I guess he knew how it was going to turn out anyway. And there's a little bit of justice, which is that OJ Simpson can rest peacefully knowing that his wife's killer is now dead as well. OJ Simpson.
So, okay, now we can discuss this. So, do you guys agree with him, or do you think he's making something out of nothing? Because I remember when it was on TV and everyone was talking about it. I remember everybody I knew talking about him when he was in the Bronco, all that stuff. And to me, I think that was when I first started noticing that racial stuff, you know what I mean? Where people were picking people simply because they were white or black, you know what I mean? They started separating people, in crowds, in different places, but not where I lived, because where I lived, I never really saw it, but on TV, on the news, and in these shootings and stuff like that, when they talk about it, that's when I first started noticing where they wouldn't say the race of the person that shot someone or robbed somebody if the person wasn't white. If the person was white, if it was white on black crime, they mentioned all of it. So it became more and more obvious through the years till today. It's like, if you're a white male, then you're the enemy, no matter what. Even if you do nothing, if you're just walking down the street and people are assaulting you, you are you're the bad guy. It doesn't matter if you did anything or not, and anyone can do what they want to you because you're white and you're a man. So that's my point of view on it. So what do you guys think? You guys can.
Well, I was there. I remember the whole
You
situation.
were there?
Well,
Why didn't you stop him then? What the hell, Ruben? You could have stopped all of this. You were there. We were relying on Kato Kalin the whole time. It was you. What a bastard.
Yeah.
I was watching. I
Watched the whole
saw.
thing. Yeah, we know. You watched it.
I saw him go the Broncos.
Mhm.
I saw the Bronco trace and all that stuff, and then all of the hoobaloo that went around, and it basically taught me about law and how things are just so skewed, how lawyer science can corrupt everything, and how they went after Mark Farbin. It was just insane how they did that. And again, I was there when when Rodney King got justice.
I'm starting to
By
see
the-
a
by the-
pattern here.
By the police that they did not beat him up. He resisted.
Yeah. See, I didn't see
Ruben,
anything.
were you
about
on the
that.
grassy knoll?
Yes, I was in the casino.
I don't remember seeing
Actually, I was
anything
there. Well, not
about
I-
that until the riot.
never take it back. I retract that. I have been at the grassy knoll, but I wasn't there during the assassination of the CIA that killed Kennedy.
Mhm.
The CIA did. So anyway, but no. But the point being here is that I knew he was guilty, and Norm Macdonald did, but it was just it just proved what was it like a first aspect where justice was never served, and the thing that pissed me off the most of late, when they did bring it up on The View,
Mhm.
they basically said Sonny Hoskins was basically saying that, you know, he was acquitted, and then he was found liable civilly and all that stuff. And then Joy Behar has to say, just like Trump, he's civil. He committed that rape. He did that. She always has to go back to Trump. It's just insane. These people are talking about, but the whole idea that you're right in one way, that race relationships started to deteriorate from the 90s, and it accumulated with Obama being elected and then doing all the things that he did to transform America. And then you have everything that's been going on since then for the last 4 years. So it's just building up with all the different things. And it's a tragedy. And this is just one chapter of American jurisprudence that has now come to a close, where justice is finally served.
Mhm.
Death, and in hell he is.
Yeah, I saw lots of memes popping up showing that the devil going, "Holy shit, O.J. Simpson here!" Like, you know, all excited stuff like that.
Or
But
Norm
I didn't
Macdonald's.
feel bad about it. You know, normally I would feel bad when something like when Betty White died. Everybody was so sweet and kind in their memes, and they talked about how they're going to miss her, and she was a wonderful woman, and how she lived such a wonderful life, and all that stuff. And then OJ dies, and I feel bad for his kids. You know, I feel bad for his kids seeing all these memes and things like that. But, you know, I can understand why so many people are so glad he's gone. And that's sad to say that, you know, as a Christian myself. I'm not glad he's gone. And he must have died, you know, not real in a good death. I mean, because I found out they had prostate cancer. And that's a really horrible way to die. I mean, you waste away. And you know what I hoped, and the first thing I said when I found out he passed was, I hope to God that he confessed. If he did kill her, which I feel he did from the evidence, just like I feel Casey Anthony's guilty too of murdering her daughter. But you know, I wasn't on the jury. You know, I wasn't involved in it, and I just hope that he asked for forgiveness before he did meet his maker.
OJ's last ride. Here we go. Here we go.
So you guys want to say anything else about this?
Here you go, Janet. OJ's last ride.
Yeah.
Twitter.
One of the things that
Where
I
is
find
it? In the private chat? I'm sorry, Orange Chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things I find very disturbing is that there are people who literally said, well, black people, mind you. And now I'm not saying that all black people said this, but there was a good number of black people who actually said after he was found not guilty that we can finally feel good about getting away with murder because white people were getting away with murder all the time. And it's like, what? Now, I remember being in grade school when all this shit went down, when the whole trial was going down. I didn't understand a goddamn thing of it when I was a kid. I was all of, what year was it? Like 92, 93?
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like 7 or 8 years old when this stuff was going down. And I'm like, why is this being put in front of us I'm glad that we don't have to be looking at the blackboard to learn math or anything right now, but what is this? It was more for the teachers' opportunity and whatnot than anything else. Some of the teachers were celebrating and other of the teachers were pissed off. But if you ask me, if this trial was to be retried today, say, I guarantee you they would have found his ass guilty just because the glove doesn't fit. You must have quit. Bullshit. You put a freaking glove that gives me this much hand movement, I could close my hand around a knife and stab a bitch to death. No offense to Nicole Brown Simpson, you are not a bitch. But the thing is, but the point is, there was still enough articulative movement with a glove that doesn't fit to stab a person. The only problem that they didn't have back in the early 90s was they couldn't really do a DNA test. I mean, probably they could. I'm not sure, but it would have taken them like freaking 3 times as long as it does now. I mean, now you can get a freaking DNA test in like 7 hours or some shit. But it's absolutely freaking boggles my mind. Oh,
Yeah,
also I found out.
Ron Goldman's DNA was in the car, in the Bronco.
Yeah.
Plus, they said that the socks at the foot of the bed had blood splatter of both victims on it, and they had OJ's DNA inside the socks.
Yeah, but they convinced the jury
that it was all planted.
They put it out there. That it was planted. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just remember my mom being very upset about the whole thing because she said that he blatantly murdered these 2 people because he was jealous. Because at that time, I had an older sister that had been beaten by her boyfriend. Okay.
Oh, I was going to say she's beaten by OJ too. Wow, this guy's everywhere.
And my mom had seen a different point of view on spousal abuse and what they're capable of doing. But go ahead, Orange Hat. I'll shut up for a minute.
You know that joke that's been going around how OJ Simpson can rest now knowing that his wife's killer has been or is dead? Believe it or not, I found the source of that joke.
I think it was Mr.
This
Williams,
is from Brad Williams, the midget comedian. Check this out. Just take a listen.
How you feel about OJ Simpson? I know some people are on one side, some people are on the other. I'm pretty sure we can all agree that he can finally rest easy knowing his wife's killer is dead.
But keep listening.
The audio cut out. There we go.
This morning, okay? This morning, started stealing that joke from me. Posting it and not giving me credit. I tweeted it first. Check the goddamn timestamp. You will see. I tweeted that joke first. Then people put it on memes. They tweeted it themselves, and then give me credit. No credit. They broke the law of comedy, and they gave me no credit. They broke the law, and they will not be held accountable for their actions.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be considered a?
Yeah,
I've seen him in Hilarities. The guy is fantastic.
He is funny.
Wait a minute.
He's funny
Wait
as
a
heck.
minute. But stealing that kind of meme from him, that'd just be a minor infraction, right?
Yep.
Only a small man would make a joke like that, Ruben.
Oh,
seriously.
Damn.
Yeah, it's just an itsy bitsy steal.
Touche.
Right. I guess my experience. See, when this all happened, I was just into high school. So this was kind of a big deal. We talked about it in government. We talked about it. I mean, it was the trial of the century. So for those of us, we were kind of interested in the whole N-word thing. I come from a very mixed race high school. I don't know, integrated high school. We had 2 black kids in my graduating class. So we knew all about the N-word because they used it all the time because, they were into some of the hip hop and Biggie Smalls and all that. And one of them was a good buddy of mine. So we knew what the N-word was then and now. The one thing I guess look back at it in this. I remember watching the whole Bronco thing because my baseball team we were over my coach's house and we weren't doing anything particular. We were just hanging out because all of us were buddies. And we're watching on this guy had a big screen. Now, for those of you who are too old to understand, when I say big screen, I'm talking like a 30-inch inside of a console. All right, on the ground, weighed about 400 pounds. You only moved it. As soon as you bought the house, you bought the TV, you put it, and it stayed there until you died or you moved. That kind of TV. So we watched the Bronco chase, and it was we didn't realize it at the time. There was this iconic moment in American history that the OJ's going for another 10,000-yard run, and it didn't really impact us at the time. But I tell you what did was when the verdict came out. I mean, almost exclusively to the people we talked to was, he was clearly guilty. It was this. It was that. Shit, I remember when The Simpsons made the joke when Who Shot Mr. Burns about the joke being, well, I mean, you can only find him innocent if you ignore all the Simpsons DNA that was all over the shooting. It was a great bit. And that was, as a kid, that's, what kind of hit me was everything that was peripheral to the actual trial. Mm-hmm. As an adult, many years later, sitting here today, looking at this, the one takeaway I have from it isn't that OJ died. Because to me, he died years ago. I don't give a shit about this guy. All right. He was, arrested and went to jail on kidnapping and on theft and everything else. I mean, the guy was not a good dude.
Yeah.
I tell you what impacted me, what made me sad. I'm a guy who likes comedy. Always have. And Norm Macdonald has always been one of the best comics, period. And I've always been an admirer of him. I've always been an admirer of the comics that was in his circle that learned from him. Chappelle tells much. I've seen Chappelle a couple times with a friend of mine, and he's made, he's got all these stories about Norm and how great he was. That's the one takeaway I've had about this whole thing is how much the world sucks because Norm Macdonald isn't here. And how he could take anything and make a joke about it in the driest form. He had to stop and think about it like, God damn, that was funny when I think about it. That's what makes me sad. That's what the impact is on me. It's not that this iconic murderer is now gone and it's, a part of American history that's now gone. It's the fact that one of the greatest comics in the world who made some of the best bits on Saturday Night Live at OJ's expense, he's gone because of cancer. That to me is the true crime. Not that OJ's writhing in hell. And I understand your point, Janet, that as a Christian, you should be able to forgive that person. I got this nice Catholic guilt, so I don't have to worry about forgiving him for anything. He didn't do anything to me. I think he's a scumbag, and I'm glad he's gone. But damn, do I miss Norm. And that to me is the impactful thing is it reminds me of somebody that was great, that was attached to this in an indirect way that isn't here anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's a loss that I feel. That may not be, exactly what you're talking about, but I guess it is kind of tied to the OJ thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how well I did. I took a stab at it.
That was great. That was great. But the thing is, the one thing that stood out to me when I watched this commentary by Michael Knowles, on the Daily Wire, I think that's what it was, right? Was the fact that when he talked about Norm Macdonald, right? He spoke out. He's a white man, and he wasn't afraid to say that he thought this black man killed his ex-wife. Okay, today,
but I think there's difference.
We don't have that anymore.
Exactly, and that's the difference. Is back then, as a comedian, you were allowed to do that. I mean, there was no sacred cow. You could go after anybody.
Even if he wasn't a famous comedian, he was just an actor.
But he lost his job because of it, didn't he?
Yes. Okay.
So
he
he
did.
was
But
canceled.
the thing is he was canceled, but he still, what I'm talking about is he spoke out. That's what I'm saying. People today are look at all these people, all these rhinos that I call them, right? They just sit around and quiver in their corner. Oh, like they're afraid to say anything about anything because someone's going to point the finger at them. I get in trouble. I lost my channel for 3 weeks simply because I posted a couple things. The first time was because I posted a 7-minute video about Hillary and Podesta's emails doing the thing with the Comet pizza. Okay. Then they said, and then it was another thing I did. I can't remember right this second. Then the third thing that they took my channel down for over 2 weeks was because I played that Tucker Carlson video about medical misinformation. Okay. So the thing is, I lost it. It pissed me off, but it didn't stop me. I'm still willing to stand up and say what I feel is right, even though I know they're probably going to get rid of me. That's why I'm trying to grow at Rumble and things like that. It's because I still want to be able to speak out because I know it's wrong. It has nothing to do with black, white, or any of that. I want the truth. I want justice for everybody. I want to treat everyone fair, and you can't if you're treating that person differently than you're treating that person when they did the same thing. Okay.
I think what's
That's
different
all I'm
today.
saying.
I think what's different today versus back then, and you kind of hit on it at the start of the conversation. And a couple of you drew the argument that that's kind of when the racial problems happened in the United States. And I think it really depended on where you lived. Like in Cleveland, I made the joke earlier that I only had 2 African-American kids in my class, my graduating class of 250 some kids. Okay. Obviously it's a joke. It was wetter than drywall in there. All right. It was like Wonder Bread at every single locker.
Yeah.
All right. In the Cleveland area, and Cleveland has a very dark past of racial tensions and problems. In the 90s, we didn't have it. It just wasn't there. I mean, even after this happened, it just wasn't there. Los Angeles, that entire area of California was a hotbed, and obviously the gentleman that was, we watched the interview makes relation to that, or reference to that some of the jurors found it because of the Rodney King thing. I think it really depended on the difference then versus now is in most of the country, at least in the 80s and 90s, we didn't have this racial tension. It just wasn't there. And I'm a Generation Xer. We didn't give a shit.
Look how many stand-up comedians we had.
Sure. But now today,
tons of them.
It's everywhere. Today, there's racial problems everywhere. At least we're led to believe that.
It's not just racial. It's also, if you misgender that person because they look like a guy and they're wearing a wig and you say, sir, and they get mad because you're supposed to say ma'am. I mean, it's just.
You can make that, tangentially one to the other. And I understand where you're coming from. I get the point. Right. What I get at is I don't think it was the OJ thing that really, threw the switch with racial tensions, nationwide. I think it was in specific areas where there were already problems that just kind of heightened tensions. Today, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what city or what state you're in. It's everywhere. And whether that's because the media throwing it in front of our face or because these problems really do exist, I don't know that was the catalyst. That was, the smoking gun that kind of started us down this path. Because at least, even after the trial, and maybe it's because there weren't a lot of black people where I lived at the time. Now, that isn't the case anymore. I'm in a more, I suppose, integrated place. Everybody still gets along, by and large. But these are issues that we see today online, on the news, and the radio, and what have you. Whereas back then, you didn't. Then I think you can point to, a different culprit that kind of put us where we are today. But I don't know if the OJ trial was it.
Oh, I think it added to it severely. Not if he would have been found guilty, I don't think it would have. But because he was found innocent, and a lot of people were thinking the same thing as that woman that he interviewed, that they were afraid to convict him because they would be beaten in the street or their house would be burned down or something like that. And I can totally understand that.
Because you remember you had the LA riots, you had the Rodney King incident, you had the LA riots, and then you had all of the trials that they went after was it Gates, the LAPD. They had all of the corruption they were trying to get rid of. So they had all this fueled, and then you had what OJ did, and then they basically said, okay, well then they're trying to pin it on OJ because of the corruption they have in the past. So it wasn't just a racial thing; it was a police corruption thing too. So that distrust in the police, that distrust in racial, problems that are occurring. It was just a domino in that we've gone down this path where we are now, basically, in my opinion.
And that leads into the next story that I want to share, because a lot of people that I've been talking to feel like this gentleman was. Let me see. Make sure I'm clicking on the right one.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know anything about this story. So I this is like totally
so hold
new.
on, give me 1 second. Oh, I suck at this. Oh,
My attention is fading.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay, I think this is it. Right here. All right. Okay, this whole thing about the Nikolai Mew trial.
This guy.
He was found guilty by a jury. See, when I first heard it and people were bitching about it, I thought it was just a judge, the way that they were speaking about it. But it ended up because the prosecuting wanted it for a homicide. They wanted him for I think first-degree murder or whatever type of thing. But he ended up getting first-degree reckless endangering or homicide of Isaac Schumann. So he had all these different things where they found him guilty. But I wanted you guys to watch the video. This is them showing the video of the actual attack. And when before I watched this, after I watched this, I went and I watched 4 or 5 other videos showing the different cell phones from the victims that they had. And the gentleman, one of the gentlemen that came from the bank who's was sent over there to try to see if he was okay and needed help because they thought he was drunk. Okay. But I saw many points where he could left. He didn't have anyone around him. He might have felt at first that he was being assaulted and that he was going to die or they were going to harm him really bad because the water was like not even up to your knee. Okay. But the thing is, he had plenty of opportunity to leave, to walk off. That's why from watching the video, I felt that, I can see why the jury did what they did. But let's watch this real quick. Hold on. Let me make sure it works.
Read as follows. As to count 1 of the information, Isaac Schumann, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree reckless homicide as submitted. Question, did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 2 of the information, Alexander Martin, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 3 of the information, Dante Carlson, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 4 of the information, Anthony Carlson, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 5 of the information, Riley Madison, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 6 of the information, Madison Cohen, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of battery as charged. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes.
I don't know what's going on.
Okay. So you don't know what any of that was I just showed you is?
No, I didn't see anything. I don't know what that was, just a verdict reading.
Oh, you couldn't see anything?
Well, it's kind of squished on the side, and they didn't. Yeah, it was. It's very easy to actually find the video out there, and there's a bunch of different ones of basically, the kid's fucking around with him, then he pulls a pocket knife and starts stabbing. So, the question then is, was it self-defense? Were they messing around with him? Yeah. Were they pushing him around and yelling at him and pointing at him? Yeah.
The
Did they?
sad thing is that really got me to really thinking and really looking into it was the fact that you had all the kids on the inner tube and they were yelling at him and calling him, "Are you a pedophile?" Because he was slowly walking around, putting his hands in the water and then standing up and walking around. They didn't know and they go, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm looking for a phone," or something like that. So he kept walking around. But then I found out that a gentleman had a bar, I guess, on the bank, and he sent his 2 sons over there to check on him to make sure he was okay, because they also thought he was drunk by the way he was acting and interacting. And those kids were harassing him by yelling at him and stuff. So he sent him over, and his son is one of the ones that died, got stabbed when he was like, when the young gentleman with the orangey yellow pants on pushed him away because he had just stabbed that other girl. Okay, that girl, you didn't see her, but she got like a slash on her chest or on her stomach inside, and you can see that in one of the videos. And that's when he stabbed him in the stomach, and you saw him fall, and he was laying there in the blood. That's where most of the blood came from. He's the one that died, and that's what tore me up, was when I was being told by another person in the shit show DM chat. We were talking and discussing this. I was, oh my God. So I started looking into it, and I was like, and he's white. So a lot of people were just saying because he's white and he's from Russia that they just convicted him because he's white and he's from Russia. And I was like, no, if you watch the videos one after the other of all the different cell phones that were there, the guy had plenty of opportunity to leave, to walk away before he started stabbing people, but he didn't. So to me, just like prosecution said, he was angry, he was pissed, and he wasn't going to let him get away with it. And he'd had a few drinks, so he had that extra oomph. And that's why I think the jury didn't give him first-degree murder, because he was influenced with alcohol. So, to me, it's a tragedy all around. And I think this happened last summer. So this took a while before it went to court. But, I just disagree with some of the people that were talking about it, because I go, you go back and watch it. And, right now, just like I've been talking about, I'm in my last month of going every other week, basically, and sitting and listening to questions and stuff that might be picked for a jury. Okay. And I've been trying to focus on, by watching and listening and reading the evidence and trying to judge that way, by trying to learn more about how that whole thing works. And that's what I took away from it. I think the jury did the best they could. They rewatched the videos, the phone video footage a few times. And I feel like they made a pretty good thing, because they didn't give him the highest ones. They gave him one that I felt like the family got some justice. We can never replace a child that's been, or a person's life that's been taken from you. So, that I feel sorry for them for that. But to me, it's heartbreaking. But from what you found out, Emperor, when you said you watched some of the videos, right? So
I did. I watched all of them. Actually, I'm very much in line with your thinking. Here's the thing. It's a phone, man. And I understand that, they were pushing him around. They were calling him pedophile. They're calling him names. His life was not in danger. I see a couple people, or at least one person in the comments saying, well, he's guilty, defending himself. Okay. Now there is a difference between defending yourself and being in danger for your life. None of these fucking drunk incels that were on the river were endangering this guy's life. He pulled a knife and started stabbing. All right. That is escalating it to the highest degree. There's a big fucking difference. All right. Could he have walked away? Yes. Could he call the police? Yes. These are things that he could have done. It's not like he was in death's ground and this was the only option he had. All right. He chose to escalate this. He chose to, again, pull a knife and start stabbing a bunch of different people. I'm fine with what they found. Obviously, it wasn't, premeditated. It was in the heat of the moment. He had a few, beers. I get it. But no, to say that this was some kind of act of self-defense, that he had no other option available to him. He's in a river, man. It's not a stand your ground river. All right. He's not in his home. It's not like they came up to him. He approached them. So, yeah, it's a tragedy. A bunch of young people got slashed up. One got killed, and this guy's going to prison.
Well, 5 people got stabbed.
5.
And 1 died from it. But one thing I wanted to say that in one of the videos that I watched, when the prosecuting attorney was talking about the video, and you can see him do it. Okay. This is what really made me think, because this is the stuff that I've been trying to pay attention to help me if I ever am on a jury, which I don't think I'm probably going to pick, but was the fact that whenever I've had a pocket knife, what do you do when you open it? You look at it. You look at the knife and you watch yourself open it to make sure why. So you don't cut yourself, right?
Well, I always pull out the fork, but
this gentleman, if you watch the video, he's got the knife down by his pocket that he took out, and he opens it without ever looking down. If he had looked down at his knife and while he was opening, what do you think the other people would have done? They would have looked down too to see what he was doing. But he didn't want them to know he was opening a knife, because if I was there, I would have pulled my knife out and said, back off.
I don't know about that. It's not like he turned around and then hunched over and was looking over his left shoulder while he's silently pulling out his knife.
This. I'm talking to you, right? I'm looking at you straight in your eye, and I pulled this knife out and I'm opening it without.
To be fair, Janet, if we're talking, I'm not looking at you in the eyes. That's to be fair.
What I'm saying is that he made sure that he was thinking about, I got a knife in my pocket and I'm going to use it. And he pulled it out. But if it was me, I would have pulled it out and I said, back off. And I would have held the knife up. And they
all right. Now, when last time I grabbed my pants and thought about using something and started taking it out, I ended up getting to jail, but not for stabbing anybody.
Well, you did stab them. Never mind.
Don't you?
No, I never got the chance. I want the
any is real.
What?
Like
that's
right now, I have a pocket knife in my hand, and if I can open it without looking at it. And usually, when I open a knife, the thing is that here's the thing. I have no context of this, but I know, Janet, you would do the right thing, basically saying, I have a knife, get back off. But for me, it would be like, I'd keep it down. I'd keep the knife down. It's a defensive stance. Is keep the knife down and keep it and hold it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hold it as such that you're having it in your hand and you're holding it like this so that you can just go up if you need to.
Yeah, that's what he did. If you watch the video, you can see him when he stabs the one kid in the stomach.
Right, you go up.
That's what he does. He went up.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, that's an attack stance. That's an attack stance. That's an attack stance. You go up to stab. You don't go like.
That's what he was doing. When
this is the movie thing.
Yeah,
that's the real thing is you go up. So it's like this. It's like your arm. It's an extension of your arm. You know.
But that was the reason why, when I heard that and I started listening and paying attention, then I started thinking of all the times I've been to deer camps, been out fishing, been on boats with people fishing, and everyone looks at their knife when they're opening it. Every single person.
How many people are pulling out knives? What?
Well, you gotta have a knife.
Is this like a redneck thing that I'm just not aware of? No, hey guys, let's get together. We're gonna play some baseball. Everybody got their knife? All right, don't check it. Pull it out. Everybody got a knife? All right.
Well, everyone I
Gary,
know.
where's your knife?
If you ever go camping or anything like that at the river, you always have a knife.
Well, depending on what you're gonna do. If you're gonna fish, you have to have a knife because you have to be able to cut the head off the fish and clean the fish.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take it home, put it in your ice chest or whatever, because you don't want a bunch of dead fish on your stringer, because then they're useless. You can't eat them. They're gonna be tainted. But okay, well, I'm done with that.
One thing, if I may.
I carry 2 knives with me.
By the way, folks, this is a comb, but I am going to use it as a example.
Okay.
There are, well, to give you, or to actually make the example a little bit easier, let's do this. Loosen this up. There are people who know how to handle things like just simply a little bit, whip it out, and there you go. I don't even have to look at it to open it up. I could just use thumb. There you go. Bingo. Open. So the whole argument, depending on whether or not you know how to use a knife or a pocket knife or any of that, really
Mhm.
depends on the person holding the knife, how well they know how to handle their tool or weapon, depending on how they choose to use it. Because all you need to do is whip it out, and there you go. It's now open. Or I'm not even looking at it right now to open it. But then again, I did just retighten the damn thing, so it's harder to open. But yeah. So loose. There we go. So yeah, don't even need to do it. I could just pull it out of back pocket. There you go. Whip it open. There you go. So the whole argument that a person has to keep their hand on their knife or see what they're doing, that is an amateur at work when it comes to holding knives. If you are a
the
hunter
knives
with a
that I
knife,
have, you have to use two hands to open them. I don't have any ones that you just switch. I don't have any switch blades or anything like that.
this is
Well,
my
it's
switch.
Well,
blade.
it's
You got to pull it open.
It's more of a men can open with open knives with one hand, Janet. It's not
Okay.
it's
Well,
not
I
it's not
have
it's
one
not
that
a-
goes
it's
on
not
my-
a it's not a you it's not a it's not a
I have
it's-
one that sits on my
Depending on the knife.
hip, and I can
Yeah.
pop a little snap, and I can pull it out really quick that way. It's a hunting knife, one you
Right,
can kill,
right.
do squirrel and stuff like that. But my other one's a pocket knife, and it takes my strength to use both hands, and it locks. You can hear it go click,
Yeah.
and that's
I mean,
what
those
I
are
use
knives
when I
that are
do fish and
more.
stuff.
Those are knives that are more are not used for quick access kind of knives.
Well, the knife
Do
that
not
he
put
had in
that
the
on
picture,
screen, Ruben. You're gonna get the stream
it
pulled.
looked like the one Ruben had earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you keep putting that on screen, I know,
Just
but
when it's
make sure
down.
that
People
it's
have
below
videos of them
your
shooting guns
name
and
label.
blowing up
Yeah,
stuff
but
all the time. I don't
I've
think
seen
we can afford
videos
them
of
a
people
knife.
using knives cooking and
No,
stuff.
if
so
you
I don't-
actually bring
Yeah.
the rule
That's
is
kinda
I've had my
weird.
stream pulled, by the way, so I do know this. If you
Okay.
if you put a weapon on the stream, it goes against the weapons
Okay.
policy
Okay.
because you never know
Okay.
if somebody might erase themselves.
I think the moral of the
screen,
story,
so-
when we get right down to it,
Mhm.
and I think this is a moral that everybody listening needs to take to heart, and we all have to agree on. Don't go fishing, folks. It's not a fun sport. It's dirty. It's disgusting. It smells. There's if nobody had gone fishing, if nobody had gone on this river, that kid would still be alive. Nobody would have gotten stabbed.
Well,
You know what? Go buy your fish from the store like normal people. Okay.
And don't drink when you're for your fishing either. I mean,
Yeah,
Everybody is
don't
gonna
drink
go
while
drink
fishing.
while
Leave your
they
pocket
weren't
knives at home.
fishing. These
Yeah,
people
don't
were
do that.
tubing.
Bring your pocket combs
Everybody I
instead.
know drinks.
You
when
can
they
brush the
fish.
fish.
exactly.
Okay, so now I guess we're gonna go to the other subject, or
I
do
feel
you
like I
want to
made a
talk
difference
about it
there.
first?
I'm proud of
Orange,
myself.
the one I was going to talk about.
give yourself or go first because it will provide a little bit of context to what the whole situation is.
So
You go
let
first.
me open this. Oh my God, wish I wasn't so slow, but I'm sorry, guys. Let's see, which one is it? I think it's I might have accidentally went backward on it, but no, this is it. Here it is. Okay, can you see this? I'll make it bigger. Okay, so let me go back. This is what I wanted to talk about. It's something that I wanted to
Support you, man. Okay, 4 p.m.
Come here, let me give you a.
I don't care what the
Okay, that's it. That's all it is. It's just Trump giving a hug to a young lady that was at Chick-fil-A, and he was in there and he bought whole bunches of milkshakes and chicken meals or whatever for a whole bunch of people that were working in there. And I just thought that was a happy moment in racial tension. You know, it was because I saw it the same day yesterday when I saw the whole OJ stuff, you know, and all the mean memes and everything else.
Right.
And it was like two totally different points of view on race that I was seeing on X. And it made me feel good. It made me feel good to see someone who, because of the way she spoke and how happy she was to see him, that he was willing to open himself up with all his security around and stuff and give her a big old hug, because I just think that's good for the country right now.
But what's funny is that
he also bought them he bought everybody freaking milkshakes. He got to mingle around with everybody. People are like, "Hey, man, that's the Lord's chicken" and whatnot. And I love how these people are complaining, or the people who have complained. It's like, Trump is so freaking racist with the racist trope of buying black people fried chicken. Like, Joe Biden wasn't racist when he fucking bought a bunch of freaking fried chicken for a family and doing that commercial. The fuck are you talking about? But all these people are freaking out and whatnot. Accidentally knocked off my earlobe thingy. But everybody, all these lefties are freaking out. Plus, there's my video. If you want to share that now.
Okay,
Janet,
is that the one that's down here at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
But yeah, there's also this chick. And folks, what she has to say is fucking bonkers. So let me go over to it and play it, because I tell you, man.
Handing out about 30 free milkshakes, right? Here's what I want folks to understand. Not everybody wants to be free. That is...
Did you catch that? We're not done yet.
The truth, right? When Harriet Tubman went back multiple times on multiple trips to free Black people from slavery, a lot of folks didn't want to go with her, right? They'd rather stay with the devil that they know. And so they did. So what we have to understand is that there will always be Black people that are like this, right?
So she is essentially saying that there are some Black people that don't want to be free. And then she tries quoting history without using full context, by the way. This is the Orange Hat Uncensored segment, folks. She's trying to say that during the time Harriet Tubman went and rescued some slaves who didn't want to be rescued, there was a full-on reason for that. Some of them couldn't get their entire families out of captivity, so they decided to stay with their families. Others were so freaking were so much in fear of the whip that they feared if they were to get caught, they would most likely be killed. So they didn't want to risk it. That is something that this ignorant dipshit is not pointing out. And now she's also saying this about actual Black people today. Not all Black people want to be free. So you're saying that as a Democrat, you still want to be enslaved to the Democratic Party? The same Democratic Party that actually was all for slavery, Jim Crow laws, and all of that lovely shit. Before anybody says anything about, oh, well, the Republicans and Democrats switched during the 20th century. Bullshit. No, they didn't.
Aunt
that
Thomasina.
has actually been proven, or that has actually been debunked a million times. So yeah, continue to this woman, I say this, continue being willfully enslaved by the Democrats. Because if you don't want to be free, if you don't want to live life to your best, in which or a presidency under Donald Trump in this case would actually allow you to, instead of freaking Joe Biden, who was and his Democrats saying, you guys are victims, you're unjustly mistreated all the time. The fuck? If somebody kept on saying that to me all the time, you know what I would have said to him? With more than just words, I would have said, get the fuck out of here, you piece of scum. I wouldn't call him piece of shit, because that would be an insult to fecal matter. But this person here, who is literally saying, not all Black people want to be free, you are literally one of the dumbest fucking ignorant people I have ever seen. And honestly, Greg Foreman, if you are on X and if you somehow manage and somehow catch this, I put it in your comment section to that video, by the way. You seriously should make a video about that alone, because that person is honestly is so fucking stupid that she deserves a video of her own on your channel, because oh my God, to actually say that is just pure peak ignorance.
Well, the sad fact is, by her saying that, it just shows that she really doesn't know her history. Okay, and
she
there's
doesn't
a
know her
gentleman.
own history, but she's also
Yeah.
proving that she's right too,
This right
because
here is really
she
good. Right
doesn't.
here.
Yeah.
This guy, what he's saying about how they get along really good in Georgia, lots of Native American blood. Okay. The reason I wanted to show this is because I was in a space on X. I don't know if everybody knows what a space is. There are rooms you can go in and you get a speaker. And you can talk about different things to a bunch of people. It's like a big chat room, but only a certain amount of people can get a microphone. And then you have two co-host and a host that host a space, and they have different topics. Well, I was in there talking. I think I was a co-host in there. I don't really remember. It was months and months ago. But someone came in and they started talking about, because they saw that a lot of people in the room were white. So they started talking about reparations and how we owed them reparations. And I raised my hand, even though I was a co-host. And when I spoke, I said, my great-grandmother was raised on an Indian reservation. Okay. She was Choctaw Indian, and her family was in the Trail of Tears. And if anyone in this country deserves any reparations, it would be them first before anybody else. I personally never owned slaves. No one in my history that I know of ever owned a slave. And why would I have to be involved in any of this shit? Okay. And they left. But they left. So the thing is they don't know their history. They're not thinking, because they're going all off feelings. They're not looking into anything. They're not trying to find out the truth. And I feel sorry for this girl, because she is definitely speaking about a topic she knows nothing about, or not enough of. She has very small bits of information that she's going off of, and she's passionate about it, because I could tell by some of the things that she said. But the fact is that she doesn't know her history.
Well, to go off of what you're saying for a moment, because I actually had that argument with somebody too about the whole reparation thing. It's like, you want reparations, then you demand it from Africa. And they're like, wait, what? Yeah, you're not going to demand reparations from white people. They ain't going to give you reparations, because they're not responsible for the slave trade. They're not responsible for selling slaves. They're not responsible for any of that. It is actually the transatlantic slave trade was made and created mostly by the black people over in Africa. The Dahomey tribe was very big on that. And yes, they were the ones who sold black slaves to America. Now, yes, were there people over in America who were white and owned slaves? Absolutely. But the first legal slave owner in the United States was a black man. That's something that also Black
the first legal slaves in the United States were not black, they were Irish.
Yeah,
the Irish were slaves 120 years.
Not the first
black
legal slaves. The first legal slave owner. The first legal slave owner was a black person.
There was plenty of legal slave owners. Okay.
His name
I'm not
was
sure where
Anthony
to start.
Johnson.
Okay. Not sure where to start correcting that record. Because that's way off the mark. Did African nations take each other slaves? Yes, they did. Were the white people not responsible for the slave trade? Well, no, of course they were. Because the Africans had no way of bringing slaves to the New World. They didn't try to. It's when they started trading with the white folks on the western coast of Africa, who were trading with them, and said, hey, we appreciate the gold and all that, but I can't help but notice you got those slaves. What do you want for them? Give us guns and machetes. Okay, fine. You got a deal. So, yeah. No. White people were the European nations, and I think America gets a lot of crap for what wasn't necessarily its fault, but the Portuguese and the Dutch and the English, they traded from the Africans and then brought them here. So to say that the slave trade was completely based on Africa and the Africans, that is horrifically inaccurate. They grabbed each other, they did take each other's slaves, and then they sold them to the white folks who said, hey, we'll give you guns and machetes and shit like that you can't get. So it's very much a business, deal between, Africans and Europeans. But I think it's extremely irresponsible to make that claim.
Trying to get rid of the slaves.
What? I'm done. I'm out.
Who do you think went into those tribes and started slaughtering them because of their slavery or because of the slave trade? The French.
Do you understand?
Were actually trying to get rid of slavery at that time.
I can't comment. I don't know enough.
The Portuguese were the last ones to get rid of
Indians,
slaves.
American Indian tribes that I know about. That's the only thing. I don't really know anything about a lot of the beginning of slave trade or any of that stuff. But I do remember that my dad's family were from, some of his family was from Ireland and Scotland. And he said that some of his relatives were some of the very first slaves that were here, that were brought from Nova Scotia. So I don't know how they got them and then brought them down to America to work the fields and things like that. At least that's what my dad told me. But I can only go by that and my heritage because I put my DNA in. And I know a lot of people frown on that, but I did it. And I've found so far, I've gotten up 7 generations on my family.
Here's the reality.
It's very interesting.
The reality is that slavery in one form or another has existed since the beginning of time, because this may come as a shock to our listeners, but humans in general are assholes. Whether it was the Chinese or the Romans or the Mongols or African tribes, the Mali Empire, anywhere you go, you had this. The whole reparations argument is, I think, more emotional than intellectual at this point. And I don't think anybody, I think if you stopped and thought about it rationally, I think everybody would agree on that we all get hyped up. And I think it's more of a talking point in modern politics and American politics than it is anywhere else in the world. I mean, the Irish can make the claim that the English owe them reparations. They invaded them and still control that island 800 years later. They brought Irish slaves in the 17th century to America long before African Americans were brought here. Look, everybody, and I've made the comment before, everybody in history has had the boot on their neck at some point by someone. Everyone's been on top. Everyone's been on the bottom. That's just the way human history is. And when you start trying to take a moral high ground versus somebody else by saying, I just want reparations because my ancestors were treated badly. Well, it depends on how far back you want to go. Because the further back you go, the more complicated that tale gets. So at what point do we say, all right, this group of people deserves it more than this group or this group or this group or this group? I mean, there's a problem going on right now in Australia. And I don't know that it's a problem, but that they're wrestling with the way that, the English settlers and their, convicts they brought with them treated the Aboriginals, and how, there was a time where they were taking Aboriginal children away from their families, sending them off to English schools and then teaching them to be English, and how that kind of got swept under the rug in Australia. There's nuance to everything. And obviously in internet discourse, especially, in the modern age, nuance means fuck all because no one has any. But I think that there is a point to teaching history that way of, Australia saying, well, this is what happened. Was it right? No, of course not. And this is why. It's one thing to look at slavery in the United States. Was slavery great? No, of course not. It was an awful thing. The Dutch and the Portuguese, much like they did trading everywhere else, kind of got the ball rolling. Other people kind of jumped in on it because when you come right down to it, it's not a superiority of race thing. It's a money thing. Mm-hmm. So when you get right down to it, it's how far back into history do you want to go to try and find your victimhood? And this is a subject that this panel has talked about before. I know I've mentioned it before, is that there's a lot of power in being a victim in 2024. If you can find a reason, whether that's being trans or being a minority or having a mental disorder or whatever the case may be that sets you aside from everybody else, being a victim of something gives you power over other people. It gives you moral authority. It gives you sympathy. It gives you everything else. Mm-hmm. And everybody wants that. Everybody wants to think that they're, the hero in their own story or the victim in their own story. and maybe I'm getting kind of far afield here, but to wrap this all around, white people were very much, at least some of the European nations were very much guilty of the slave trade. They're the ones who made the choice to take the slaves from the Africans in exchange for European goods, put them on ships, stack them like cordwood, and then bring them over here and sell them. The United States, when we became independent, that slave trade was already going. The Americans, we had nothing to do with that. All right. We inherited what was already here. If you want to put a crime against the founding fathers, and there are mitigating circumstances, historically speaking, in my opinion, it's that they should have freed the slaves when they did. The problem is they didn't think about that because they were too worried about getting hung by the British and winning the goddamn war. Should it have been addressed before? Yeah, absolutely. Did they supposedly stop the trade in the 1820s, although you're allowed to keep slaves here? Sure. And we're paying for that today. But we got to be real careful about this revisionist history, and we got to be real careful about putting all the blame on one group or the other and trying to explain everything away. History is not black and white, folks. It's very much gray. There's a lot of nuance and context to go.
Yeah, especially since if you pay attention in the last, 13 years, I guess, that I really started paying attention, where they're tearing down statues, they're taking books out of libraries and burning them. They're going through and taking movies at Disney and getting rid of the originals and editing all of them to take blackface out and all the different things, which is history. So how do you stop bad things from happening in the future? But it's by knowing what your history is. So when you have governments that erased history so that you can't even look up the real stuff, anything that's real, you have Google and all these people changing everything. You can't even look up. You don't even know if it's a real history anymore when you look something up or try to find it in a book, especially if the book's been printed, in the last 20 years. How do you know it's even factual anymore? Because the government keeps making all these changing things in our history. Okay. They don't even teach a lot of the things that they taught 20 years ago in school anymore. So, a child today that's is starting kindergarten will have a totally different point of view on history that we all have on this panel, simply because the books are all different. The teachers are teaching totally different things that they think are more important than knowing your history and how your country was founded and who suffered and who didn't. I mean, what was it? The Tuscany Airmen?
Tuskegee.
That was a whole group of, however you pronounce it, I'm sorry. But they were all black, okay? And I remember watching a documentary about that. But is that going to be available later on? I don't know.
I would hope so. They were a hell of a fighter squadron.
Yeah, there's a lot of history that's being taken out of libraries and out of books, and statues being torn down because they don't want it named a statue up that was a person that owned slaves, or whatever the reason they take them down. The fact that they take these down to where young kids today, a 5-year-old, will never see it. Okay, so their history is going to be different because they don't know anything, because they're not taught the true history of what happened in our country and how we became free.
One of the first things that we were taught, in college, for those of us who are aspiring to history, is that you have to be very careful not to take whatever today's societal norms are and use them to judge past events. Looking at how the Romans handled things, or how even the colonials handled things, or how ancient China handled things, because society changes. Your point that the history that our kids are going to learn down the road is different than what we are learning today. Well, that's the nature of the beast. That's just the nature that history is. If you were to go back in medieval times and talk about the history of ancient Rome, the facts that they have and what they look at are far different than what we have today. Part of that is deliberate because we pick and choose what history to teach somebody. But another thing to realize is you only have so much time with these kids in school. You can only teach so many things. And, the values of society change, as the years go by. So you have to pick and choose, well, which history is the most important to try and teach? You know, one of the knocks we get in America by Europeans is, well, you guys don't know anything about your history. Well, no shit, motherfucker. I've got, you know, a 9-week semester to teach them about American history. Annihilus. I hate this comment. There is no historian in academia today that will back up this comment. History is written by the victor is a bullshit comment. It's like saying the Dark Ages. Nobody, no actual historian will ever make that claim. History is written by historians. The reason we know about the people who've been defeated in these different nations because they also left records. History is written by historians, by those who have the ability to make the claim, oh, it's written by victors. No, it's not. That's a very simplistic and very childish way of looking at history. That is not how things are. All right. Say the Dark Ages and oh, it's the Christian Dark Ages. Nobody in academia or in real history talks about the Dark Ages anymore because it's bullshit. There are plenty of records. There are tons of records in Ireland kept by the church about all the things that happened during the supposed Dark Ages. We say that because it followed the fall of the Roman Empire and there was no one centralized authority after 1,000 years. Okay. These comments are made by people who have never studied it, who don't know anything about it. And I apologize if it comes off very personal and insulting, but it's an ignorant comment that you know, anybody with just a bit of education has long since stopped using. It's not written by the victors. There are people that, you know, there are countries that try to wipe things out. You know, they don't like it happened just a few years ago when ISIS rolled into northern Iraq. Remember this? You know, we saw the stories. They were blowing up ancient Persian and ancient Babylonian icons and statues and cities because they don't want to acknowledge there was a history before Islam. Okay. That's not the victors writing history. They're trying to erase something they don't like. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean that history wasn't recorded by the people at the time. You know, it's the same reason we know Christ existed, because you have Josephus and Tacitus and all these other ones who made reference to this guy in Judea. The Romans were the victors. They put the screws to the Jews, damn near wiped them out a couple of different times. But we know they're there. We know these things happened because historians write history. People like you and me, 100 years from now, it's going to be blogs. Think about that. Your blog that you had when you're in your emo phase back in high school that you want to put on whatever it is, the live stream or whatever those blogs were. Think about it. You're writing history. They're going to look back at this like, Jesus Christ, high school was horrible for these people. The shit that went on. People write history.
If I may clarify something I said, please.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't get a full chance to explain my full set, but yes, I do acknowledge that other cultures were involved with the slave trade. And yes, I may have been in error in a couple of speaking points, but one thing I do believe we all can agree on, if you really want to go back to the origin of slavery, every race before owning slaves of a different culture enslaved their own culture. So with that, yes, I also do acknowledge that there were European factions and countries that were part of the slave trade as well. I wasn't saying that it was solely just the blacks in Africa. I was going to say, yes, they also got resources to sell them overseas. Unfortunately, somebody decided to correct the record before the full record was given. But to be, or just
would
wanted
you like
to make
to
sure
clarify
that,
that
was
part,
clarified.
please? Please clarify who it was that you're talking to and talking about. The
Don't
person,
need to,
the
you
people
already
in the
know.
comment section, or the people that were talking here? Because you would stop
The people
for
on
a
the
good
panel.
5 seconds. So for 5 seconds, there was dead silence where you said nothing. So clearly your statement was made, and let it sit there.
Actually, no.
And then Janet made
there
a comment.
wasn't dead.
Then I said something. So I'm sorry that you have to go back and try and clarify, and you're now attacking me personally because I corrected a historical record. It's nothing personal, man.
Well,
we're
I
all
don't
talking
think-
here. It all
I was
just kind of
going to
flows.
say, I don't think anybody was attacking anyone. I think
No,
we
it
were all
wasn't.
just making statements.
But as I said, it's an irresponsible thing to
what
say
we
that
feel
putting
was
all in one person and
history.
ignoring another one. Yeah,
No.
I-
Okay.
yeah,
I didn't see it that way.
I didn't either. I agree. But
I'm just saying that's what this is all about, is us discussing different topics and then letting the chat also discuss the topic so that we can get more and more facts out. so that more people that may not have known anything about something will now be able to go home or, tomorrow thinking about what we talked about and saying, "Wow, I didn't realize that was going on. I'm going to look into that because that was interesting, or I want to know more about it." The whole thing that I wanted to do this show for was to get people to think about what's going on right now in our lives and giving people a chance to listen and start looking into it. That's why when I talk about it, I'm like, I show what I've seen and then I've looked into, because I want people to be able to see what's going on if they haven't heard about it. Like what Ruben did the other day when he brought up that stuff about Lizzo, I think it was, quitting.
Mm-hmm.
You the one that did that?
Yes.
Okay. I hadn't heard anything about it, and I'd been on X and other things all day, and I didn't.
It just happened that when it just happened.
Well, the thing is,
before.
if we don't share information with other people, could be lots of people who have no clue about something.
Well, but nobody knows
the
everything.
only way they're going to find out is if we say something. One of us speaks up.
Well, here's the bottom line for everything and puts everything into context as we've been discussing for the last 15 minutes or so, since Orange Hat brought the video up. The young lady in the video has taken historical facts and misconstrued them to fit her narrative, to prove in her mind that Trump is doing these things because he is racist. That's her mentality, because it fits her narrative, what she's been fed. And that's what's sad, is because people can take historical facts, take what they've been told, what they've read, and they can come up with their own conclusions. And that's what's sad, because then once you are lockstep in your belief of something, then it just destroys everything, and then no one can communicate and talk. That's the whole problem, And again, that's the thing. There are people out there that still believe this stuff to this day, that Trump is evil and a racist. And this video that came out of him at Chick-fil-A, when I look at this video, I don't see what people, because people don't even know the history of Trump in a way. Back in the 80s, Trump would do that all the time. He would go to McDonald's, or he'd go to Burger King, or go to like that. You saw that he would go to Little Caesars. He did those videos, Domino's. He would do this all the time. There were commercials of him doing this because he was a celebrity, and he would do these things. He would go to the hip hop. He would go to the Jewish. He would go to black neighborhoods. He'd go to Asian neighborhoods. He would do all this stuff because he loved New York, and he wanted New York to come back, because he saw how bad it was back there in the 70s, in the 80s revival. He did this Art of the Deal, all this stuff. He cared enough to do what he could to help the city thrive. He did his part, but he did it not for publicity. He did it for he did it for the clout that he could have, and then he put himself out there, and he failed. And he failed sometimes. He had to declare bankruptcy sometimes. The corporation did a couple times. But that's what you do. People who take risks, put his neck on the line, are gonna fail. But they get up and get
entrepreneurs. No matter what you're delving into, whether it's your own hair salon or new makeup that you want to invent, or anything, clothing line, you take risks because you believe in something and you need someone to help you make that into a reality. Okay. So that's a risk. The person that believes in you and donates to your cause also is taking a risk to help you be successful. And not all of them are successful. I'd say what do you say? 50%, half of them make it, and the other half just falls to the wayside. But that's what our whole country is basically founded on. Entrepreneurs, people who came here, cut their little trees out and made their swath of land into a farm, or built a house, and then other people saw that they were being successful, and they moved next door and did their same thing. Next thing you know, you got a little booming town, and other people coming to want to sell horses or sell guns, ammo, things like that. So it grew. Okay. That's what our whole country basically is founded on. And what you said about Trump a while ago, about what he did and how he's always done that. When the first time around before Trump ran, or when Trump was running, I was all for Ben Carson. And I still love Ben Carson. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful man. He's a good husband. He's a good, true patriot. He loves his country. And I can tell, but when he talks about it, and he talks to his wife in some of the interviews that I saw, it wasn't until I saw a video of Donald Trump going to see a bunch of veterans, okay, at some function. I can't remember if it was Veterans Day or something like that. And I was watching this video, and his wife standing near him, and he has a gentleman and his wife standing looking at him. The guy has no arms. He has little clippers or whatever hooked to himself so he can grab things. And Trump saw that, and you could see he paused for a second, and he saw the guy has no hands. So what does he do? He does what? And it almost makes me think about crying, thinking about it, how compassionate Trump was to reach his hand out and touch the gentleman on the face. He made human contact with someone when he realized the guy can't shake his hand or anything. And that's in here, okay? It's not all for show, because he knew people were there taking pictures, but how did he know at that one moment that he was going to have a camera on him, exactly seeing him reach his hand up? That's not something people just have, okay? That's something he has inside him. And when I saw that, maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm a dumb country girl or hick or whatever, you can call me whatever you want. That's what I saw. I saw a compassionate man who reached his hand out to touch another person's skin.
You know what I see?
What did you see?
I see the Washington Post article with the headline, Trump assaults armless man, unable to defend himself. That's what I see.
Okay. Well, I didn't see that. I saw a compassionate man, and that's what made me say, okay, when Ben Carson was taken out, I started going for Trump after that. And I haven't stopped. And after his first 4 years, he proved to me that he did everything he could to do everything he said he was going to do. And I trust him now. And we need him.
Let me ask you that. I'm going to ask everybody. Let me ask you this. I'm curious about this. Jan, I'm glad you brought this up in all seriousness.
Okay.
Because conversation I had at work recently, which we're not really supposed to have, but everybody does anyways. Water cooler talk. I'll ask you first, and I'll ribbon then orange. Yes or no? And, a brief statement as to why. Do you believe that Trump will defeat Biden in the general election? Yes or no, in a brief statement.
Yes. And the reason I do believe that is because I hound everyone about going and working the polls so that we could try to quell the cheating.
Wow.
If you have a butt in the seat, they can't cheat. So
Trump will win because Janet from another planet personally willed it into being. That is godlike power, ladies and gentlemen.
I wish I could do that. If
the power of her pretty face. All right, Ruben.
As of right now, yes, he should win.
Thank you. Why? Because Janet, I know she's doing everything she can. I know.
Yes, well, based upon everything that's been going on with the economy, and and just the fact that the way things are going with the government, everything has to change. And it's not just going to be Trump. It has to be Congress as well, because Congress is doing a lot of evil shit right now too, especially with the vote they did with the FISA vote they just did.
I saw that.
It just pisses me off. So it's basically, it's not just about Trump. It's time to wake the fuck up and kick all these idiots out. I'm just done with it. I'm done with the lies, the grift. The uniparty has to go completely.
100% agree.
Orange, do you think Trump wins in November, and why?
I don't know. Because one, I'm usually intuitive about certain things here and there. In this particular case, I do not know. I cannot say one way or the other. I would like him to win, sure. He is the best of the two choices right now. But right now, considering that the Democrats have gone and done every freaking thing that they can and continue to come up with other shit here and there with the exception of assassination, because they haven't, or with an assassination attempt, because they haven't gone that far yet. But honestly, I don't know. A lot can happen between now and November. I don't know what the heck they have planned. They're going to continue to try to do a bunch of other shit to try to keep him off the ballot. And so far, Trump keeps on, or fortune keeps on smiling upon Trump to allow him to stay on the ballot. But considering that the Dems have been doing a lot of sick shit over the last few years, I cannot say one way or another whether Trump will be or will beat Biden. But if it does, or if it was a fair election and there was no tampering, meaning a bunch of fucking mail-in ballots, which are easily corruptible and shit, yes, Trump would win at this point, because you have Democrats openly who voted for Biden openly stating they would all vote for Trump now.
That's a good answer, because I lean that way too. Because I know that they're going to try to cheat, and they're going to, the scary, sad thing to me, I know I'm adding more to it, but is the fact that when he wins in November, okay, we still have until November till January
Yeah.
to try to survive. And that's when I think that all hell's going to break loose. That's one reason why I'm thankful that I'm in bumfuck Egypt, basically Hillbillyville, because I feel like I'm going to have a better chance of survival because of where I live. And I feel bad for all the people in the big cities.
Janet, do you really think that society is going to break down into a Mad Max
not
world
all
because
not
Biden's
all
got
society.
okay
Some
some
in the big cities and stuff, the people that are pissed off, like, okay, we just talked about this in the O.J. Simpson trial, right? What happened after the Rodney King verdict? Well, they were pulling people out of their cars and beating them with rocks and bricks.
I think the situation's a little different.
I know. What I'm saying is that's what kind of things I think is going to happen. I think
did those things happen after Trump won in 2016?
No, but this is totally different now. You got all the people that have been told they can steal as much as they want, as long as it's under $1,000. You have those people. You have all the Black Lives Matter. You have all the Antifa people. You have all these other groups, these special groups that have been told by this administration that you keep us in office, you're going to keep getting all the free shit. Then you have all the millions of people that have just come over the border, and we know at least 30% of the 10 million or whoever has come over are bad people. Emptied prisons, psycho wards. They've already been raping. They've already been stealing. They've been squatting in people's homes. They're committing all kinds of crimes. We got all that. Then we have all the people that are mad because of the whole thing with Israel. So you got those people. So you got all these people in these little pots that are simmering right now because of what's going on. And then when they find out that Trump wins and they're not going to get their shit, they're the ones that are going to start causing chaos. And most of the chaos is going to happen where you have the most people, which is crammed together in these big cities, which are already.
You know, I didn't think of the Palestinian thing. That's actually an interesting idea. I actually hadn't considered that.
That's not just it. It's there's other groups like that. But what
I get you.
Okay, that's who I think, honestly, and I think it's going to be a little push by this administration. Okay, saying, hey, you know, like. They say, oh, we knew this guy was on one of our lists. Then he goes out and he shoots up a whole bunch of people. Okay. And we were watching him, but he did something before we had a chance to do anything. I guarantee you there's thousands and thousands.
They're looking for another George Floyd type of thing, with
our government knows about, and they're not
doing
anything because they're wanting these people. They're going to push them to give them money or
comment
whatever.
on that in a second.
So that's what I think. I honestly feel that. That's why I'm where I'm at right now. I legitimately am doing as much as I can by raising chickens, making sure I had a well, learning as much as I can to give myself time, because I really believed after what happened this last time that it was just going to get worse. And I've been right so far. I don't want to be right. I hope I'm wrong. I pray every day that I'm wrong. But in my gut and in my heart, I think I'm right. And I don't want to be. But there you go. You've heard me say this a million times, all of you. But I can't help it. That's exactly how I feel. Now I'll shut up.
If I may,
Go ahead.
There's a lot of the things. Remember that the Democrats since 2000 have been election deniers. They've been going on saying that we protest this election, we protest that election, we protest this election. And unfortunately, we have a vice president who is a nutcase right now, who can actually not do her job properly, like Biden actually did when he was vice president during the 2016 election, which he legitimized Trump's victory. That is the only good thing that Joe Biden will be known for, in my opinion. As he basically said, your objections are not merited when they objected to the election. So the problem is we don't have somebody who is actually willing to be that objective in this case. If Donald Trump does win the election, Kamala Harris can easily say she approves of these objections to the ballots to the ballot results if Trump does win states. So there is a very big chance that Washington will not accept the results of the election. And
what happens if that takes place?
Freaking anarchy, right? Or as far as I'm concerned, there's most likely going to be, or that might actually be what tips this country into a freaking civil war. That might actually be what tips the country to the point where people will say, we've had enough. It's now time to load up.
Because once people start rioting, because
they're going to riot if Biden does, or Trump wins.
They're not getting all the stuff they need. They're not getting gas. The gas tanks are empty at the gas, at the gas marts, and that kind of stuff happens. They can't afford to buy groceries. The shelves are getting more and more empty because we can't get the, stuff, things like that. The tensions rise. And then people start fighting in the streets. You have riots. You have houses burning down. That's when the government steps in and says, "Oh, we got to have a National Guard come in. We're a state of emergency," and they're doing more and more and more. And where is it going to happen first? In all the states, the blue states. Those are the first ones that are going to do it. So then those people are going to get mad, and they're going to leave their state, and they're going to go to the next state next to them, which is red, and bring their chaos. You see what I mean? That's how it's going to spread.
Do you know what happens?
Now I have a governor that I think will do whatever she can to keep us as safe as possible. But
do you know what happens if they try to reverse January 6th to the point where Kamala Harris does not actually ratify the Electoral College, supposing Trump wins?
Legislative.
And they go through these riots, whether it's their proxy groups like Antifa and all that. The Democrats would stand to lose everything. Everything. They would cease to be a functioning party overnight. Now, the scary thing is, it's certainly a possibility. If the Democrats feel that their back is to the wall to the point where they won't be able to elect anybody else, I don't think they actually are worried about Trump overall, because Trump can only do so much individually. He needs a Congress, he needs a Senate. They're worried. They're worried about, in a large way, well, they make it out to be that the deplorables are the ones that are going to break down society. Here's the situation, folks. Here's the reality. All the rioting that they were going to get away with, they already did in 2020, 2021. The Black Lives Matter riots, the Summer of Love, whatever you want to call it. We've defunded the police. All right. Baltimore did it. Minneapolis did it. Los Angeles, Seattle. Every place, including Cleveland, which didn't really defund their police. However, they put in a unelected council that can second guess what the police do and issue punishment. All right.
Yeah.
Every one of these major cities now has far less police than they did. Every one of them is far below from New York to Seattle and back. You have businesses leaving major cities, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Baltimore, Detroit, because they can't afford to be there. They're inconveniencing the general public, the electorate. All right. Maybe they try those kinds of riots. All right. If Trump wins. The reason why I don't think it happens, and it's a scary thought, And the possibility is there, which is why we're discussing it. I don't think it happens because they don't have the support of the general average person. They're going to look at this and say, you know what? We're not going through this bullshit again. We're not going to let you burn down everybody's liquor store and convenience store and drugstore because you're mad about something. That has absolutely nothing to do with you. We're tired of the election deniers. First Republicans do it. Now the Democrats are doing it. If they were to do that and not ratify an election where Trump wins, and you have those small riots in those kinds of cities, you will see, and you said it, Janet, they're worried about the general public. They are. You will see the average person turn against them, and that will not change for a generation. I don't think they do that because they will lose too much. They will guarantee the Senate, the House, every governorship where these riots take place, there won't be a Democrat to be found. It'll be a bloodbath like what Florida and Ohio had in 2020. Look like an overnight party. I hope to God that this, like a reverse January 6th thing, doesn't happen. I don't know if we get to a full civil war like Orange suggests, but there's nothing good that comes out of that. But
so
I can't imagine.
They're thinking logically right now.
I think they're looking long term because I don't think they see that Biden.
They're planning on having Biden
because
win.
Biden is not a long-term solution, and they knew Biden's not a long-term
they
solution.
They want Biden to win so that Harris can take over. That is their
they
actual
want
plan
Biden
right now.
to win. Okay, they know Harris is unelectable. Okay, she's the most unpopular vice president in the history of the nation. That's a fact. Yes. They're aware that she cannot take over other than being taken over for Biden. Biden, not just as a lame duck, but they realize will do nothing the next 4 years as president. Even if he gets elected, he's not going to be able to move anything. All right. They're going to win because they want to win. However, I think the Democrats are smart enough, and to the Republicans can be that way. They're looking long term. I don't really think they believe they're going to win the next 4. They're not worried about 2024. It's a wash. If they win, sweet. If they don't, they've still got Trump stymied. What they care about is 2028. That's what this is leading up to. I don't think that this, and it really, to me, it doesn't matter which one gets voted in because, as we've discussed, I don't think enough is going to change between the two of them because they're both lame dunk presidents, no matter which one gets in. But no, I don't think the Democrats are looking at this as Biden as their savior. They're looking at him as that as our only option right now because we don't have anybody better to put in place right now. That's why you see Newsom and Kittmer and the rest of them making the moves that they are, placing themselves not for this run, but for 8 years from now, 2028 or 4 years from now. That's the goal. That's what they're really going to be gunning for. If they can hold the line now, sweet. That just gives them an upper hand to set up things for next time around.
Yeah, and we'll see that. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
And we'll see who they tout out at the Democratic National Convention as the keynote speaker. They're going to start lining up people. All of the speakers, watch out who they are, who is set up there to speak. Because again, the GOP fucked it up with their State of the Union response with bless her heart, Katie Prickett or whatever, but she didn't do well. And that's the caveat I say regarding the election. Here's my nightmare scenario. We know what happened through 2000 Mules, what they did with ballot harvesting. You have Scott Pressler and you have Laura Trump, who now are talking about doing the same thing, getting the vote out there, getting people to go vote out there. You're going to have so much expose. If Trump does win, you're going to have TikTok, you're going to have Twitter, you're going to have all the social media of the Gen Z, Gen Alpha influencers showing that people stuffed the ballots, did this. They're going to rage a hubbubaloo that it was rigged. Russia did it. They're going to do that. All social media are going to be clamoring to demand an investigation to happen. Not only just take to the streets, but flood social media with all of misinformation. That's my concern. Where they're going to say, well, we have to do something. We have to investigate because this is not good. And they have to do it right away if that happens. It's a dumb move, which Emperor, you're correct that if they do this, it's going to divide the country completely. But if enough people believe that it could go wrong. But leading up, like going back to what I was saying before, leading up to the Democratic Convention, Again, 1968, 2024, we're back in Chicago again. So who knows what happens? Biden cannot afford to have a 1968 on his hands. Can't afford. That's why he has to resolve all these conflicts right away. Because again, if we're in Hamas or Israel, you thought the Vietnam War was bad?
Yeah, it's a hell of a point. That's when Janet said the Palestinian group. I'm like, wow, you know what? The convention in Chicago, I thought about that. I'm like, that is something I had not actually considered because it's a recent event. That's a hell of a point.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. So Biden cannot afford to have riots in the street. Can't afford,
Can I say one thing real quick? Interject before I forget. It's like I'm really bad about that. I'm so sorry. But all of this is going to happen, but it's being pushed. In my heart, I believe it's being pushed by our government right now that we have in office. Because if they can cause something to happen with this whole Palestinian thing with Israel and Gaza and all that here, where a backpack goes off at an elementary school and it's a dirty bomb, because we don't know who came over they're going to blame it on people coming over the border. Okay. Even though they might be a plant, or a few of them here, there, and whatever, take out part of the grid, and they'll blame that on Russia. Okay, all these different things so that they can say now we have to call martial law because we're going to go to war against Russia, and we got to find out who that terrorist is that came from wherever, Hamas or wherever. They can say whatever they want because they want mass hysteria in all the people that already see this going on, that going on, this and that, whatever, all this other stuff already. And then you're going to have people trigger happy, run around like this guy in this case we just saw. He was filled with anger and angry at these people, and he let his anger overweigh his thought process about walking away. Okay. So he used a knife, and yeah, he calmed down afterward. But the thing is, we need calm now before we reach the heated moment where we start making dumb choices, because that's why I started doing everything that I've been doing, trying to work my way to where if everything collapses, if there's no grocery stores, if there's no money, if there's no transactions, if there's no electricity, I know it sounds like I'm a nut, but I'm really not. I'm not saying I want to live that way, but I want to be prepared if that does happen. I can still feed myself, take care of myself, and hopefully feed my family and my friends and take care of them because I planned for it.
Janet?
Okay, I've been planning for it. So.
Level with me. I'm your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Are you on anxiety medicine?
No. No. I mean, I have trouble sleeping sometimes, but I get allergies.
Kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but no, really.
Yeah, but all the things that are happening right now, the economy, the fact that it's roaring, the stock market's roaring. They say it's not. It's stupid. It's all
not yesterday. It didn't. Oh man.
I know. Yeah. But then yeah, the inflation high, economy terrible, jobs markets terrible. All this
starting to go back up again.
All these things point against Biden. The only thing that can reverse this is a George Floyd, like what happened in Chicago, the 96, the guy that shot at the cops, and then all the report is that he shot back 96 times at the guy. It's just, again, they want bad things happening. So what can Biden do, or what can the government do to create a crisis again? Another
I don't think they can dip it that well again. You really think they could do it again? I mean, they've already done that before, and look how people turned against them after that. Damn, Ruben, and honestly, you think they could do that again? I mean, maybe if they had a different excuse or a different reason. I don't think they could do the whole black guy got shot by cops thing again.
This is all they got to do. Everybody's already whipped up. Okay, they're already doing it every single day. Okay, with the transgender, with everything that they're bombarding us with tons of bullshit.
But look at the polls; it's turning against them.
I know, but
in a big way.
Who's in office?
And they can't handle that, but they're still going to.
Well, I understand Biden's in office.
And the assholes in office, whatever, poopy pants, whatever you guys want to call him. Okay, zombie man, whatever. He's in office.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Okay, yeah.
But how does he stay? How does he stay in office? That's what I'm saying.
The thing is, because we look what just happened. They voted to to investigate and use FISA warrants and everything with or
Yeah.
do all the stuff without FISA warrants.
And they couldn't
Okay.
do that without the help of the
You have-
Republicans.
Correct.
And they
So,
did it with
Uniparty
rhinos.
bullshit.
Okay,
Uniparty.
so we've already proven that. So there's enough rhinos
Don't-
on their team.
that's the one thing I disagree with. There are no
I know, but-
rhinos. It's
Okay.
the Republicans, Democrats are both
I'm
stupid.
using it to try
All
to
of them.
explain what I'm saying.
All of them. I know.
Is there's enough people all on the same boat. They all want the same thing. They want ginormous government. Okay.
Correct.
You and me and both of you are a threat to their ginormous.
I am not a threat to anybody. I'm a lovable ghetto favorite.
So they're going to do and say whatever they have to take us out of the picture. And if nobody trusts you because you are a deplorable, you have guns and religion, you're clinging to your guns and your religion. Who said that? Obama, right? So that's what they're doing. They're making all of those other people that are cowering in the corner thinking they need government to take care of every aspect of their life, all the way to wiping their ass for them every day, right? And then they got people like me that want to be able to take care of myself and do it with my amount of money that I'm working. I'm not breaking the law. I'm doing things legally, and I should be able to keep my home, my stuff, because I pay for my bills. I take care of stuff, but they don't like me because I do that. They want me.
To the feds listening right
do
now, I'm
their
not
things.
with her. I don't know her. I'm here against my will. I was promised cookies. So FBI or ATF, whoever's watching
You don't
this,
want my cookies because I
Emperor
can't take very
of Clan
well.
Imperial Guard,
I bought cookies.
am here. I was promised cake, and that's
Oh
the
my,
only
cake.
reason.
Now
She's-
cookies and
But
cake.
I believe that.
She's a
I
fringe
believe
nut
that our
job.
government is going to do something and cause
I think
them
we
to
get into the
blame
habit.
us for it.
Jenna, I
So
think we get
To
into the
blame
habit
who?
of people.
Russia?
they'll be ready. They're going to blame Russia, but they're going to blame
The
us
Russians again. We're back
for
to the
some of the problems, saying that it was deplorables. And every single time there's a shooting or anything, they don't say anything because they find out, oh, it was a transgender or it was the person's the wrong color.
I think
Okay,
we get
or
into the habit
They
where we
have
give
a
the Democrats.
manifesto. Okay, these are all people that end up being the nut jobs that breaking the law and hurting people. They can't blame it on, oh, it's Janet from another planet, the girl that's never got a speeding ticket. She's never broken the law. She's always preaching about signing up to work the polls. Look at her. She really was a closet psycho, and she just wants to kill people. That's what they want. They want to
Let's be
blame
honest,
me.
Janet. If you want to rampage yesterday with a gun, I mean, I don't think a lot of people here would
Okay,
be a
but
lot
what I'm
shocked.
saying is
I'm like,
that's what they want. And they, as soon as they
Your
get
guns.
their token
Both of them?
person that's a real deplorable that snaps
Yes, I said it.
and does something, they're gonna
That's a
run with
human
it. And that's
citizen
all you're
first.
gonna hear about. That's all
I think
you're
we get
gonna
into the habit of thinking that the government that is in charge right now, the Democrats, are smarter than they are, that they never make a misstep, that this is all some kind of giant one world global conspiracy. I think that they have made a great many missteps. And I think some of the things that you
No, I know
mentioned,
they're
and
not perfect, but that's what I
because
think.
they are pushing, things, agendas, the LGBTQPA, whatever the hell it is, the environmental thing, the wealth redistribution, the removal of the gas car. That's been their big thing. These are all things that, if you look at the polls, are moving things away from them. They're trying to get them done, maybe because they're fear that obviously they won't be able to in the next administration. These are acts that people take because they're not confident they're going to win. And the strategies they're doing, I talk to a lot of, I would call the undecided, the middle Americans, who are kind of left, kind of right. And the same conversations are happening all across America. And I'm sure you guys have heard it, which is, man, gas costs too much. Cars cost too much. Groceries cost too much. People are coming across the border that we don't know. Why are we involved in these foreign wars that have nothing to do with us? These are all common refrains that people who normally don't pay attention are saying. So when they push these kinds of agendas, you know what? They're chipping away at their own polls. And this is why I say they're not looking, short term at Biden because he's a sacrificial lamb, wins great, doesn't whatever. They're getting their shit done now, and they're looking for 4 years from now when they can recycle all this bullshit. Okay.
If there's an
Nothing
election,
ever happens. There's not going to be any riots. There's not going to be anything. And the reason why I think this is the case is because
you're right.
when you get, I do too, But I think it's a lot of it is apathy. I think a lot of middle America, the right side isn't going to do anything because their guy won. Middle America is not going to do anything because they're tired of the nonsense. And the middle and the right aren't going to put up with the left if they decide to go burning things down, whether it's the excuse of another George Floyd or the excuse that we don't recognize this election win because Trump got help from the Russians, thanks to the Iranians who are helping Hamas fight the Chinese, or whatever the case may be. I think you can see, 2/3 of the nation say, all right, enough. We put up with this for how many years? We voted in the other guy because we're tired of the nonsense. We're supposed to have the adults back in the room running things, and look what's happened. I think that we are so worried that these guys have some kind of master plan, that every single thing that they have done has gone exactly to plan. If the idea was to turn 2/3 of America against them, well, then they're a fucking Bond villain because it's working.
Well, I want to
Yes,
ask
granted,
you something.
it's no, hang on. I know it's your show and you're charged and you're the boss. You can go ahead and talk.
Okay, I want to ask you one question. Do you believe that the 2020 election was stolen?
At the time, no. Now there is so much circumstantial evidence
Now,
as to
right
say
now, do you believe it was stolen?
I am moved into the I no longer sure category.
Okay.
I didn't think it was.
Hell
Now
yes.
I'm not
Okay.
convinced.
Now,
I think
do
it very
believe
well
was
could have
stolen.
been.
And it took a lot of freaking work and a lot of people to pull that off. Okay. That tells me, because I do believe it. Okay. I believe it. So now this might help you understand why I'm where I'm at in my thought process, and not really nuts. And it's not because I have too much estrogen or I'm on the rag or any of that shit. Okay.
Are you?
No.
I just want to know if I'm going to get like both
I do
barrels
have
here in a second because
estrogen,
you're
but
feeling bad.
that's not why I'm doing.
I'll respond here. I'll respond here in a second. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But the what I'm trying to say is, it took a lot of people to get 5 states to pull out millions of votes and put them
Did
through
it
the
though?
machines.
No, it doesn't
Yes.
take
It didn't take a lot of
No,
people.
it
No, it
took-
doesn't take a lot
Rubin
of
said it
people.
last week.
It did take a lot of people. Okay. The right people had to be in the right place to do things, to change election laws without going through their state the way they're supposed to. All the different things that were done in each of these states. Okay. And they tried it, I'm sure, in other states. They just weren't able to get away with it because too many people were paying attention. Okay.
The
Because
more
if
people
I
you bring
was-
into a conspiracy, the more likely it is to come loose.
I know,
Right?
but that's what I'm trying to say, is that they had to have enough people involved to be able to pull this off. Even the president of the United States himself said that they cheated different aspects the way he's talked in his.
You know who you need to get to cheat if you want? What
Okay,
Rubin
wait
said
a
last
minute, I'm
week.
not finished.
Oh, sorry,
I'm not
sorry.
finished. It's all right. But the thing is, it took that many people to do it, and those same people are still out here. They're still out and about and doing their own thing, and they got away with it. Okay, so if they got away with it, what's going to keep them from doing it again? They just make tweaks here and there to make it work better next time. So
I have a
that's
question.
why. That's why. Go ahead. But that's why I know. I think I'm right. and I hope
You
I'm-
really don't think there's not going to be any riots? Honestly, you don't think there will be, Emperor?
I don't think there will be overthrowing of the government type riots. No. Well, I think you have some kind of disturbance in some cities like they did in 2016. I'm sorry, 2016 when Trump won, because there was rioting in downtown Washington when he was having his inaugural speech, when they were breaking windows and doing things like that. Was it widespread? No. Do I think we're going to have widespread Black Lives Matter riots across all these different cities like we did in 2020? No, I don't.
Okay. And you're entitled to your opinion. I do
Well, thank
disagree
you.
with you. And the reason being, the Democrats themselves have openly embraced riots. They have
Sure they
gone,
can.
or they are on record on the news
Yes, they have.
encouraging riots.
And what has
And
happened?
you think, and when these things, or if Trump does win this election, I guarantee,
Mhm.
well, I won't actually go there as to guarantee, but I will say that there is a high
gotcha.
likelihood that people are going to actually get violent. There is going to be violence in the streets. Maybe not as humongous as, or there are, because a lot of people love to go to January 6th as an insurrection and shit. People don't forget that the Democrats also have launched insurrections within the last few years themselves, if they want to go by that actual definitional standard. Because when 2018, when Kavanaugh was being sworn in, they had lefties literally beating on the doors of that of the building, literally beating on the doors of that actual room, and yet nobody freaking said anything about that. Rashida Tlaib freaking instigated an incident in the Capitol area where 300 people were arrested, and yet they still didn't call it an insurrection. There was there's insurrections in freaking Memphis, Tennessee's Capitol building almost freaking weekly because they got crap going on down there. But I guarantee you, if Trump does win the election, well, all right, again, scratch the guarantee part. I strongly believe that there are going to be people freaking pulling George Floyd level or riot level shit, because they are already so freaking TDS'd essentially that they can't handle it, that they cannot understand or even fathom how Trump is going to win, because unfortunately the media, and this also does include Fox News. Fox is not a right-wing only media section. They have lefties too, and even the right wing is fucking full of shit half the time too. Yes, I am talking to you, Kayleigh McEnany, with your horse shit and whatnot. But a lot of them will not objectively report the news. They will, or none of them do. And neither will any conservative media for that matter. That's why I don't watch the news. That's why I don't listen to the news, is because I don't trust anything coming from Daily Wire. They're a bunch of fucking horse shit. I don't trust anything coming from Fox. I don't trust anything coming from even any of the left.
But here's the thing. Media. Here's the thing. We all know that already. I mean, if you were to look at the trust that people have in the media in this country, it's lower than Congress. And that's kind of my point is.
And then there's also other things happening. Sorry.
What's that?
That's another reason why we need other things happening, like maybe a reinstitution of a refined fairness doctrine.
Okay. At any rate, the reason why I don't think that these things are going to happen, at least to the degree that you guys fear, is because it's already been done. People aren't, and that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. People aren't going to put up with it again. If they were to try and do what you were all suggesting, I admit it's a possibility? Yes.
What do you think they're going to do to? What are the people going to do to stop that from happening?
You will see people start defending their own property with their own weapons. You will see police who aren't going to sit back anymore like they did last time in kid gloves and let them do it. They're going to use tear gas. They're going to use water tanks. They're going to move in. They're going to arrest people because these Democratic mayors of cities are running all of a sudden pro-police because they're getting killed not only in the polls, but in the streets. All right. Look at what the mayor of Baltimore, the 180 he's done on crime just in the last 2 months because things are so bad. Or in San Francisco, for the first time in 2 generations, they're starting to vote in tougher laws against people who are on the streets or actually committing crimes or, stealing. People have reached a critical, point where they're not going to put up with this nonsense anymore. When you have the general public, and when I mean general, I mean more than 50%. You're talking 60%. You're talking in the middle of the road. You're talking people on the right. All right. Even people, the Democrats on the left, are like, you know what? We're not going to do this shit anymore. We're tired of the rioting. What did it get us? We're tired of the burning down. What did it do for us? Nothing. These people went on this little January 6th insurrection, if that's what they want to call it. Did it change anything? No, it didn't. I'll tell you. If they want to have any kind of impact, if they really want to show that they are this butthurt about Trump winning and the Republicans taking control of the White House, they would have to do riots 2, 3, 4, 5 times the magnitude of what Black Lives Matter before they would move the needle in any direction. The risk to them right now is huge. And Shannon, I didn't get a chance to respond earlier. You said a giant conspiracy would have to have been in place in order to go ahead and have Trump lose these 5 states. And I contend to you that is not the case. And this is why I'm now in the I'm not sure category. Rubin said it very well last week when he said that there are some states that have a Democrat in charge of the elections. All you need is somebody from the White House to contact these individual states and say, look, these are the counties that we're concerned of. These are the places where we think ballots, wink, wink, can be found to make a difference. Put the people you need in place in these areas. We don't need to win by a lot. We just need to win by enough. If they really wanted to go this route, you don't need a conspiracy more than a few hundred people across 5 states. And the more people know about a conspiracy, the more likely it is for someone to get loose. So that is why. Go ahead.
They had to be high up people in each of these states to be able to pull that off. Just like
they
I
only
said.
had to be in charge of the elections. They didn't have to have the governor, lieutenant governor. All they needed was even a few counties. And that's enough to swing the vote in some of these, because most of the states that Biden did win was a razor margin.
And that's one of the reasons why I've been killing people, not really killing them with my hands or anything, but making people sick of listening to me by saying, go sign up and work the polls. Because if you're sitting there, they're not going to cheat in front of you. Because if my ass had been sitting in the chair, and I've worked the polls in 2 different states many times, and they came to me and said, you have to leave because we have a leak in the bathroom and they're going to bringing people in and blah, 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 then I would have said, okay. And I would have picked up the box of ballots and the books and said, get the books and stuff, let's go. And they would have said, what are you doing? And I'm going to say, well, I swore on a Bible that I was going to follow through with my job until these votes were counted, and I can't let them out of my sight.
And you know what happens? While you're not paying attention, they're pulling out a pocket knife. And then they're going to stab you and take those ballots.
Yeah.
They probably would have.
Oh, Janet from another planet, she died in a freak fishing accident.
But the thing is, I wouldn't have left, is what I'm saying. And they wouldn't have been able to get away with cheating in front of me, because
but this is where
you happened in that spot is every one of those people got up and left, because when you go to work, when you go to the polls to vote, okay, you look around and it looks like a geriatric center, right? Because that's what
hear that, old people? That's all you're good for, man. Walmart greeter, ballot counter.
The thing is that there's not enough young people working the polls, not enough younger people to take over the place of these people that are in their 70s or older that are working the polls. Okay.
I don't want to see it to be
what
old working the polls.
That's how they got Dominion in. That's how they're able to hire all these groups of people to come in and count the votes, because there's not enough people like me that are willing to take time off and go work the polls. They're having to hire people. And guess what? When someone's making bank and they don't give a shit about who wins or loses,
that's me.
That's how you run. That's how you can change the votes. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go to the polls. I don't want to have to count things.
No, you don't. Maybe
I got
you don't
shit to do.
to,
I'm not allowed to. I can't. My job does not allow any kind of politics. I'm not allowed to. Legally, I'm not allowed. Well, I'm not legally.
You then. You go and you vote.
Well, I'm not old either. So
yeah,
you're talking to the old people.
Vote.
I cannot believe you're screaming at the seniors of this country who aren't volunteering their time to go there and count ballots.
I'm not. I'm saying that we need to replace the old with the young. We need to start bringing younger people in to make sure that
you're an ageist.
I guess.
Can't believe you.
But the thing is,
I support the young people.
But do you want to go on to the next topic now? You want me to bring it up?
Oh yeah, you have to do your thing on climate change.
Yeah. Well, no, this one's. I'm going to do the other one first.
Okay.
I'm going to do the drone one first.
We don't have to do anything you don't want to. You're in charge.
No, we're all in charge. It's our show. So there you go. Can you see it?
Oh, all right then. Shut up, Ruben. I'm taking your speak time now. Look at me. Okay. I'm the captain now. Is that how that goes?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that movie because it looked awful.
Now, do I have to be the one to make it go up and down, or can you do it?
Oh my.
Well, if I'm motivated, I can make it go up and down.
You know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. But I really need to read this. I need to read this article.
Okay.
You can hit me up afterwards.
Just tell me how to.
I'll just paraphrase it. Basically, here's the thing. We're moving more supposed assets, quotation marks. Here's the thing. Last week, and we discussed this at the last show, this is kind of a follow-up in that We believe that the Iranians were going to strike at the United States and Israel because the Israelis blotted out a few Iranian generals in Damascus. You know, they went the OJ way. The world was improved, addition by subtraction. So we went through the rest of the week because, U.S. intelligence immediately ran to Reuters and the Associated Press and said, oh my God, the Iranians are coming for us. Okay. And they were concerned that they were going to hit our ships and they were going to hit our embassies. And then, of course, much like everything else, nothing happened. So then sometime around Wednesday or Thursday, an article came out that said, well, cooler heads have prevailed. The Iranians probably aren't going to strike back. Now we're not so much concerned. And now this comes out today from Reuters, which goes on to say that Iran has up to 100 drones. They have a bunch of missile launchers that they're now concerned may hit both American and Israeli embassies in other countries, that they may go ahead and actually fire into Israel itself, which if Iran itself fired into Israel, Maine, that is an escalation that could not be ignored. And I go back to, we need to stop fucking around with the Iranians and just slap them down. If this is the kind of the way they want to go. And I still believe that we shouldn't be involved. All right. But besides the fact, besides that, you had Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, several countries come out today and say that although we have Kuwait have air bases in their nations, we are not allowed to use them to launch any kind of military action against the Iranians, regardless of provocation. This is the so I wish they'd stop putting their country near all of our bases. Now it makes sense to put our bases where the enemy is. This is weird that we have now whipshawed back from they're going to hit us to nah, it's fine to shit, here they come again. Mm-hmm. I don't understand. For one, I don't know why U.S. officials are going and telling this to the Reuters or Associated Press or anything anyways. I don't understand why the United States modern military feels the need to run to the media. Do I have to speed this up?
No, for this.
I don't think that's it.
No, to whip us up, to get us Americans all paranoid and worried and freaking out that we're going to be going to war. See, they want
I don't think enough people in America really care, though. If you ask the average American under the age of 35 to point to Israel on the map, you're like, here? Well, no, not South America.
This is what I'm talking about. It's the gas prices, the food prices. People are coming over the border and attacking people, raping people, sitting in their homes. I'm adding all these things. There's all of these things. There's hundreds of things, more and more and more each day, adding to each person's life. They either see it on Facebook or they see it on TikTok or they see it on Instagram or they see it on X or they see it on Telegram or they see it on any of these apps, and they're getting frustrated because there's so many things going wrong and they're losing their jobs. People are sick and dying, whether they well, from the jab, they got all these people getting sick and having heart problems and all these other health problems. Some people are looking into the jab because of it. Then they're saying other diseases are coming out. They're taking people's farmland away. Other countries are all whipped up because of different things, the same things that are going on in their countries. What I'm saying is they're keeping everyone at a fever pitch level so that when they do start snapping their fingers to do whatever is going to be going on, people are already in a frenzy. So it's easy for the domino effect. Wham.
You know what? That's a valid point.
That's all I'm trying to say is that
does kind of make sense.
We need to all pay attention to what's going on around you. Be ready to go pick up your kids from school. Be ready, because we don't know where it's going to happen, but I really don't think it's going to be in Los Angeles, or it's not going to be focused in those states. It's going to be in the middle where all of us are at, where all of us farmers and rural living people, things like that. That's where I will admit
it's a valid point that when you continue to have this kind of stuff in the media every single day, it does tend to overload. I think you run the risk from their point of view that people kind of get burned out, like, you know what, it's too much to pay attention to. I just don't care anymore. Regardless, obviously, I think it's, from a military standpoint, I think it's ridiculously stupid to continually tell the media what you think your enemy's going to do or what the enemy is going to do.
Well, why would they do that? To get people to be thinking, hey, you know what? That's a great idea. We could do that. That's what they're doing it for.
So you think they're trying to psych the Iranians into hitting us with missiles and drones because they weren't going to before? Like, you know what? Habib, come here. Hey,
maybe.
I wasn't thinking about doing anything to the Americans,
You
but
only need
Reuters
one.
thinks.
You only need one person. It doesn't even have to be over there. He can be here already. He could have already came over the border.
Well, no, in this case, it really does have to be over
It takes
there.
one person, and look how many people we're having at these giant protests with all the Palestinians. Death to America, burning flags. People can't even have a flag in their front yard without people saying that's offensive to me. And
Okay, but I don't worry about those. I don't worry about the person who's offended my flag, flying a drone into my carrier, or firing a missile into my.
No, I'm talking about.
But
they
these,
say
I understand what
those
you mean.
things about
These are
that,
actually
but they're going
stated
to do it
comments.
here in our
Right.
country. That's what
No,
I
I understand your concern. This article is not talking about the potential of a fifth column, which, considering this, the fact the border is a sieve, you are absolutely 100% right. That is an absolute concern, that security concern that we should have. This is simply talking about nation states one to another, and this is what does not make sense to me. And I think it's very foolhardy to continue to go to the media and tell them, and you're right, Janet, if their goal behind the scenes is to keep the American public in a frenzy, okay, I guess from a stamp that makes sense. From a military standpoint, being an armchair general, I find it very stupid. If you know what your enemy is going to do, you don't tell the world, you keep your mouth shut and you get ready to counter it, or you stop them. So that's what this article is talking about, being it's a follow-up to last week. It's concerning. It's a problem. We've got guys over there that are on the front lines that I just assume not be there at all. But if they do hit Iran or hit Israel itself, or they hit American territory, I mean, an embassy, they hit a carrier or any of our ships, an airfield in another country, that is an escalation that they cannot be allowed to survive. I hope that doesn't happen. It's concerning to me that oh, yes, they are. No, they're not. Well, now they are again. Okay. Maybe since you're not sure, don't say anything at all, because you may be whipping up the frenzy here back in America, but you have no idea how much damage you're doing to yourself amongst your enemies overseas. Because every time we do this boogeyman bullshit, Iran gets more attention and their stature grows. Just like I said last week, stop treating them like they're a world power. They're not. They're a piece of shit that nobody likes them. Not their neighbors, not us, not anybody, not even their allies. It's kind of like a poisonous snake. Yeah, you'll throw it at a guy because it's funny to see him get bit. But you wouldn't hold that thing more than a second if you didn't have to.
Well, it was a few months ago. I think maybe it was 2 months ago. We did this show right here on the Shit Show. We played Tucker Carlson's interview, and I think his last name was Epstein or something like that. Him and his wife, remember, went to South America, and they talked about the two camps, right? Two different camps where with our symbols hanging everywhere because we're paying for it, basically. And one of them was all foreign people, like from China and Saudi Arabia. Remember? Yeah, the Darien Gap episode. Okay, we played that, and they're ready. They're all being trained and everything. They're ready to come right over the border and do whatever it is that the people that are paying them to be there to do. That's another reason added to my fear of what might happen, and I want people to be prepared to know that it's something that you should be thinking about. Even if it doesn't happen, they're there for a reason. Why? I don't know. I'm not involved in it. I'm not in the know. No, they're not going to tell me because I'm a big mouth. I'll tell everybody. The thing is that I do believe that something is up. I just don't know what it is. But I do not, with every fiber in my body, do not trust this administration for our safety. Okay. They're going to protect themselves. I
don't trust any administration.
Okay. Well, I'm telling you, I trusted the other people a little more than I do. And I'm trusting them less and less each day because things that they did like today with that whole thing with the voting tells me that they're not out for me either. They're,
You know, there's
none of them give a shit about me.
Yeah.
So I have to take care of myself.
there was
And
an
I
African
take
American
care of the people I care about. That's it.
comic who said this. Might have been a couple years ago, and I apologize. I wish I knew his name. It was a great bit. I'm going to paraphrase. He said, "I'm surprised that you all are not everybody thinks that the government's lying to them. You really don't think they're lying to you?" He's like, "I've got a 5-year-old, and I lie to that little fucker all the time. And you think the government's not lying to us? I don't trust any administration. You know what? We don't need to know every single little thing that goes on. I understand that there's people out there, the Assange
I don't
people, the
wanna know.
WikiLeaks.
I don't want to know everything that they do. It's none of my business. As long as they protect my country from foreign
Blessed
invaders.
are the ignorant.
Okay. As long as they do what I'm paying my taxes for, I'm happy with, but they're not. They're using all our millions and billions of dollars in tax to do something, but it's not to protect us from our border of invasion because we're being invaded 24/7 and people are dying because of it. So what are they doing with all the money that we're giving them in our taxes to take care of us? They're not doing it. We can't drill. We can't even get our own oil. We're 100% reliant on other countries just for our oil when we shouldn't be. We have plenty of damn oil in our own country.
We don't need any more oil, Janet. We're going to all electrical vehicles in 2027.
You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right.
Okay, so that's why I don't trust them. I don't trust these people. They're setting us up to fail, but to who? For who? Why?
WEF.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Sure. What?
But the thing is, I believe. I wish I didn't. I really do. I pray about it all the time. I wish I didn't feel this way, but I know people are probably getting sick of it, of hearing me say it. But I just want people to be prepared mentally that when something does happen, that we can't be running around with our hands in the air going, "Oh my God," and like your hair's on fire, your pants are on fire. We have to be able to say, "Okay, this is it. Here we go."
I think it was a watershed moment for those of us who were alive when 9/11 happened, because that happened. I don't know if there's a lot of stuff that would shock anybody. If there was an alien invasion tomorrow, purge the Xenos, would any of us really bat an eye? If they come out tomorrow, I mean, they've already kind of said that UFOs have been happening and we've been visited. No one gave a shit. That was like a year ago. We're like, yeah, well, I mean, that's 2023. What are you going to do?
It's on our bingo card already.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything? Godzilla could go and trash Tokyo and be like, I've seen this movie. It was great. Fuck the Japanese.
That's why the frenzy. That's what I was trying to say. That's part of it. The reason you keep everyone in a frenzied state is so that no matter what they throw out there, it's all impossible bullshit. It doesn't matter. See, no one. It's so much overload. People are just shutting down.
Apathetic. Okay, I mean, and you know what? That's I can't argue the logic. That's a very real possibility. If the idea is to make everybody apathetic because it's constantly one thing after another, that's a good point.
So, but that's how I really believe that. I hope I'm wrong. I pray every day I'm wrong, and we'll know for sure by the end of the year. So we'll have answers this year for sure.
It doesn't really matter, Janet, and I have very bad news for you. None of this really matters. None of the things we've discussed tonight matter. And if you're listening and just realizing this, I'm sorry that we've led you along for 2.5 hours to find out that none of this fucking matters. But that kind of leads into our next article, which is we have 2 years left on this earth, folks.
Okay, hold on. Let me
24 months.
Let me open it real quick. Here we go.
And it comes from the experts that should know, the United Nations.
Oh, fuck them.
So the United Nations climate chief says we have 2 years to save the planet. Now, this may come as a shock to those of us who watched Al Gore and in his documentary about when was it we were supposed to be flooded again?
2000.
We would already been
right.
We would already
and then there's Greta Thunberg who said we were supposed to be dead by what year was it? Like last year or a couple years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sorry that we keep moving the goalpost on this one, but again, I'm going to go ahead and paraphrase the article because really, who has time for the United Nations? We have 2 years to go ahead and drastically cut down on emissions. Now, the irony is not lost to me that their project goal was called 2030, and this is telling us we've got until 2026. So just looking at it from that point of view, the United Nations really fucked up by making their emissions goal treaty for 2030, only to find out now that we're all dead by 2026, in which case it doesn't matter. To which I say, burn as much fuel as you can, folks. We only got 2 years. Let's throw the biggest goddamn party that this planet's ever seen. Use every single resource you can find. It's Mad Max time, man. Ramen noodles and shotgun shells. Start taking over your neighbor's house. There's no point.
In front of me a
We're
few
all
seconds
fucked.
ago for saying that, or you
What's
said
that?
that's what you said that's what I was saying was going to happen, and I didn't say it was going to be like Mad Max.
Well, okay. In my defense, Janet, I like you, but you're not an expert. The United Nations is a body of politicians.
Yeah.
They're telling me this. I'm going to pay attention to them. You've got a YouTube channel. They've got a building in New York.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That trumps you.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Fragile
People
ego.
are going to believe this, people.
Of course they're going to believe Miss United Nations. Who wouldn't believe it?
I
It's
wouldn't
coming
believe
from
the
Reuters.
United Nations even if my life depended on it.
But it's coming from Reuters, folks. Who would doubt
Don't give a
Reuters?
fuck about Reuters either.
Politicians and journalists are telling us we have 2 years. I am very disappointed that the people in this panel are not taking this seriously. You're laughing. Ruben's shaking his head. Orange looks depressed. I would be depressed too to find out we're dead in 2 years.
I'm not depressed. I'm not interested.
Yeah,
that's why we're all going to die because he's uninterested.
This
He's
global
too
ring
busy
hoax
eating
has gone
cows
too far
and
now.
driving horses or whatever it is.
Wait.
That's
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So
okay. Wait.
No
No. Wait.
No more
Really fast.
farting and no more burping because that's adding to the.
This proves one. This is
Cow fart Cortez.
Here's a question, Emperor. You had mentioned the idea that people would not want to write anymore because of it's been happening over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
For my God, since as long as I can remember, this whole global warming, climate change now, since the 90s, has been talking Al Gore about his bullshit, and everybody's talking about it. They go on and on and on and on, move the goalpost over and over again. When is the people going to basically say enough of this bullshit?
I think we got to that point. Look at how you've all reacted. Look how I'm reacting. I'm taking the piss on this thing right from the start. People in the comment section, we've all gotten to the point where like, oh, okay, it was global warming. Okay, so that's not a thing. So now it's climate change. Thank you, Janet. That's pretty much what people, at least in this country, look at.
I'm done with
you know
it.
what?
It's all bullshit.
We complain. It's even worse overseas. We complain about losing our gas stoves because that matters, or losing our gas cars when they're literally in Ireland, in the Netherlands, and Belgium, taking people's farms from them.
Gas, and it's not a hybrid, so that's how much I believe in it.
Well, there you go. But they're literally taking people's livelihoods away from them. These farmers in France, in Belgium, in Holland, or in Netherlands, in Ireland, they're taking their farms away from them. They're taking their cattle away from them. They had to destroy 500,000 cattle in Ireland for no other reason.
Want them to eat.
No, they wanted
bugs.
Right. But they did it because they have to meet this climate goal by 2030. Mm-hmm. How pissed are you if you're an Irish rancher and you happen to go ahead and get the video version on your print newspaper to find out that we've only got until 2026? Mm-hmm. You think the Chinese give a shit? Mm-mm. You think the India gives a shit?
All you have to do is get on global or Google the thing to look at the Earth to see where the emissions are at, and you go over India or China, and it's almost black, red and black, orange and red and
black.
My
mom says there's a lot of black people in China.
And it's from the air because of all the pollution they're putting in the air. But we're the ones, United States of America doesn't look anything like that. I mean, we are clean.
Well, no, we're white
but
people,
guess
we're not
who
Chinese.
pays for most of it? I tweeted about this the other day. We do. You and me, with our tax dollars, we put billions of dollars into this shit.
You're right.
We're the ones paying the most. We recycle. We do all this shit in our own country. I mean, look at our parks. How
Almost
many
like it's a
other
money
countries
laundering
in
scheme.
The world have as many state parks and stuff as pristine and beautiful as we do? Hardly any, because our country is one of the only countries in the world that takes such good care of our forests, our lakes, our rivers, all that, because we have laws that do that, but yet we still have to pay for these other countries that don't give a fuck. I mean, look at their fucking lakes and shit. They're filled with garbage.
And that's
Tons of
why
garbage.
most people, like Ruben mentioned, that's why most people don't care.
Sorry, I said the
Because
dirty words.
when you see these other countries doing things,
Sure, sure.
well,
Please
they
say more.
yes, because China's a developing country. No, it's not. India's a developing country, kind of.
Oh, hi,
And how many people in America, how many businesses in America have gone and bought carbon credits? It's a money scheme. Oh, you can buy a carbon offset. Okay, so I can pay not to feel guilty? Oh, yeah, but we totally will plant a tree in northern Scotland or something. You can't ever see it. No, you see that tree right there? Yeah, you bought that one. Well, how can you tell that tree looks like 100 years old? Well, fuck you.
It's so dumb. I'm just done with all this.
It's
shit.
ridiculous. And what's sad is how many people do it. But see, these people, this is another thing. Oh, drives me crazy. The same people that bitch and moan about how we're ruining our planet and that we should keep paying all this money for China and all these other countries to help them with the pollution. Well, they're not using it to do that. Okay. There are the same people that'll go get a cute little kitten or a puppy and then give it to their kid on Christmas. But guess what? In 6 months, when it's peeing and pooping around their house, they take it down the road to the farmer's house and dump it on the side of the road for someone else to take care of. That's the same people that's trying to tell me that I'm polluting because I drive a truck.
My
because
my
I have chickens
my
and I'm
whole
very
story
teeny.
analogy for that was the following. I didn't get the jab. I didn't wear no dumbass mask.
Mhm.
And everywhere, and the biggest pollution problem we had in the last 4 years is masks all over the place. So if I didn't wear those things, and I'm not a polluter, and I'm the polluter, who did it? Who pollutes? Who screws up everything? You go to Lollapalooza here in Chicago, and it's a dump afterward. They just throw their shit everywhere. They don't care. They pollute all the time.
And they're the ones
Chicago, who would
promoting
notice?
climate change.
Yeah,
All you got to
stupid.
do is go to any of these liberal cities and just drive around at the homeless encampments. They're
Yes.
shitting in the roads. They're peeing in the roads. They're walking around like zombies because they're all on drugs or alcohol or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's piles and piles and piles of trash. But you, the tax-paying citizen that works down the street, the grocery store, you have to pay to clean up their mess.
Okay, let me
You
ask
have
you
to
this.
pay to fix all this stuff.
That's good.
take
Let me ask you
trash.
this, Janet. You just inspired me. Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask everybody in the panel, kind of like earlier, all right? Because I want to involve
Here we go,
everybody here.
here we
This is
go.
interesting.
Okay.
Janet, you are now president. God help us. You are now president. Oh my God, you are president of the United States.
Uh-huh.
You can address and take care of one issue of all the stuff we're facing. What to you would you take care of? Think of this as like a beauty contest and you're running for president.
The one thing that I would try to do was I would arrest every single pedophile. That's what I would do. That's the first thing I would do. Every person that's a person that's been arrested for having porn of children on their computers or have been arrested for molesting children or any of that, trafficking children or any of that, that's the first thing I would do. That's my
Okay.
number one agenda. I've talked to
Ruben?
you about this before.
Janet has been assassinated. Pedophiles got to her. You're president now. What's one thing you take care of?
One thing is get the budget balance. Stop all the freaking spending and bring all the manufacturing back here to America. And it could be, if they're going to call me an isolationist, I don't care. It has to be done here. We have all the resources. Start cleaning up our own house.
Okay. Orange, Ruben just got voted out because he's an isolationist and he's probably a closet racist. So now you're president. You can change one thing. What would you do?
Well, I would most likely deport every single person who is here illegally and reinstitute the border security as well as complete the wall.
All three solid ideas. I like it.
What would you do?
All right. So I've now assassinated Orange because I've taken over, and now this is a monarchy. It's no longer a presidency. In all seriousness, what would I would do? I would dust off something that was thought up in the 1950s, and I would update it. It's called Fortress America. And it was a doctrine that the military thought up that in the event the United States, or basically North America, was cut off from the rest of the world, that the communist spread had taken over everything else except us, would we be self-sufficient as a nation to keep going? Now, there are friends of mine who are, really dialed into this. And we've had this debate before, that going World War I, World War II isolationist, where the United States withdraws to that degree, where we basically tell the world, you know what, we're tired of spending our blood in our treasury. You're on your fucking own for a change. And there's a drawback to that, in that you're going to leave a power vacuum that somebody like China, or to a lesser degree Russia, will then fill. I don't care anymore. You know what? I'm tired of seeing our guys be sent overseas to a year in Syria in some, forward operating base doing fuck all, looking at sand. I'm tired of our guys having to go to Kuwait, or, being, we were dropping special force into Ukraine to train people. I'm tired of sending hundreds of billions of dollars to other nations, when all three of the things that you mentioned were things that money could help go towards, and if not eliminate, certainly improve upon. A lot easier to balance your budget when you're not sending hundreds of billions of dollars to other countries. A lot easier to get pedophiles when you can hire more cops. A lot easier to build a wall when you have that money to do these things. Now, if these were times of plenty, fine, go for it. All right? This isn't Rome, and I'm tired of pretending that we are. This is not an American empire. And I know that's a cool talking point that a lot of people like to make. We're not. Bring people home. Defend our borders. Manifest destiny again. Tell the world these are our areas from North America down to the Caribbean. This is what we're going to take care of from now on. See to your own defenses. If our very best allies, the Australians or the British or whatever, come under attack, that's a different story. I'm tired of it, man. We've got so much to fix in our own house that we need to stop worrying about everybody else's. That's what I would fix if I was president, is, you know what? Look to our own defenses. Fix things here. Reform the issues that we have. Fix the government. Secure the nation. Get our budget in line. Get more people into the military, but give them a reason to. Tell them, oh, here's a GI Bill. You can go to school. You know what? That ain't enough, man. There are other ways you can get people into the military, and we sure as hell have done our very best to chase as many of the best young men and women in this nation out of our nation's service.
Yep.
Well, we need more teachers. No, we don't. We don't need more liberal teachers in school. We need more soldiers on the goddamn border. We need more, airmen. That's what we need. A 600 ship Navy. And tell the Chinese, we're going to go home. You step on a line, you come near us, we're going to put you in your place. That doesn't mean we stop developing weapons or whatever. Doesn't mean we don't become, remain the economic powerhouse that we are. I'm not saying a cut off trade, but I'm sick of it, man. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of any time we lose somebody overseas that just shouldn't fucking be there. Bring them home. We got plenty of stuff to do here first.
Yep. 100%.
We spent 20 years with our nose to the grindstone. We can turn this place around. You know what? Then we can open things back up. And that includes legal immigration too. No one's coming back in. If you got a skill we need, okay, you're cool. You're in. You're not. Hope you're marrying an American, because otherwise, fuck off. That's what I would do.
That's more like a Calvin Coolidge approach. Just cut everything, concentrate in America, get the right 20s.
But I'm less of an asshole than that guy was.
I know.
Mostly. Well, all right. That's okay. I can't pick up the statement.
Well, we've been going at it for 2.5 hours, and I've got to get up early because I got to get ready to do my Dungeons and Dragons again tomorrow. So I'll be doing that. That's what I'll be doing. But
Is
what
that
are
code
your
for something?
plans? Huh? Yeah,
Is that-
Dungeons and Dragons. I play every
I know
Saturday.
I'm playing. Was making a joke.
Okay. Well, Orange Hat, do you have any plans coming up this week before we close shop?
The Hollywood weekend recap, or the weekly recap rather. Tuesday is the theme stream where I discuss franchises this month. This upcoming Tuesday is the Terminator franchise. Tuesday night is the Barroom podcast on Society Reviews channel. Wednesday is Jade Shadow's channel with we're discussing Lethal Weapon 2. Thursday will be the From Paris with Love discussion on my channel for the singles.
Oh, that's a good one too. All right, well, that sounds like you're busy. So Emperor, do you have any plans?
If you are in Cincinnati, the Cincinnati area, I will be signing autographs at the Meyer, just outside near Dayton, from 2 to 4 p.m. on Sunday and Monday. It is a $25 fee per picture. I will not sign if you do not pay. Do not bring your phones because you're not allowed to get it for. I'm taking my son to see Ghostbusters tomorrow, and I think I got something going on next Thursday. But beyond that, I don't have anything else planned.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that, but right after Ruben talks about what he's gonna do on his
I
channel.
have one question, Emperor. Skyline or
Fuck you. I'm not going to Skyline Chili. Look, if I want diarrhea, there's easier ways than taking a 4-hour road trip to Cincinnati. Because the bad thing, aside from eating the chili, is the fact you have to go to Cincinnati. I would trade that Kentucky for a 6-pack and I promise not to give it back. While we're at it, I'd swap Toledo to Michigan for the same deal. Can't believe we fought a war with those bastards over that. If we knew now what we knew then, we're like, you know what? Wolverines, just take it. Just take it. Our bad. You got it.
Wow.
Oh dear.
So
That's funny.
what are your plans, Ruben?
Well, I'm still looking for, work. I'm still trying to get things, my situation going. I would like some prayers because I just noticed something that I monitor my weight, monitor everything going on. And I've been noticing, and I think I have to verify it I don't have a doctor. I have to do it myself. I think my tumor's getting bigger. I just felt something that's out of the way. So, but I'm just going to continue to, look for a place to go, get my life together, and just keep on fighting, putting my videos out. I'll be putting some videos out sooner. Find me here again, but follow me on Instagram. Follow me on I'm trying to get off of Instagram, but follow me on Rumble, YouTube, and X. But doing more on Rumble and X very soon. So,
if you follow me, I will pull a gun on any of you.
Well,
keep 20 feet back.
I have plans with my channel. Something new that I've been wanting to do for a while is since we started this show, which I love because I missed when I was on Drew's channel. We used to do on the United Resistance. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Remember that?
Yeah.
No? Okay. I love that show. And that's when ever since I wasn't able to do that anymore, I wanted to do this show and I didn't know what to call it. So I just called it the Friday Night Shit Show because I thought it sounded catchy or whatever. But since this one has been doing really well, which I love, I'm not monetized or anything yet, but I enjoy doing it. It's fun. I feel like we're helping people learn about things they probably wouldn't have known about. And I love hanging out with you guys. I think it's great. And I want to keep doing it. But I wanted to do something different I didn't know for sure what it was. But I've decided that I want to do another show called The Shit Show 2.0. And to talk about one or two specific items that are going on that are important that we need to discuss. But I want to do it with just one other person and have a weekly show. And I was talking to Emperor and he thinks it's a good idea. So he said he would do it with me.
I said you could pay me to do it.
Well, we're gonna try.
My contract demands will be in the mail tomorrow.
Well, I don't make any money. I don't have any money yet. But he had some good ideas that I agreed with. And so we're going to start next Thursday night. We're going to have our first show. And are you going to be able to do it? Play the intro thing?
I sent it to you. How am I going to play it? You're the one who's running the show.
I got to go and open that. Hold on. You guys talk about something for a second and let me figure out how to do this. I told you I don't know how to do nothing. I'm learning, but I'm just not very good at it.
So it will be true to form. The Shit Show 2.0.
I know.
We'll starting off now early.
I wish I was better at it. I really do. But
All right.
just
We have-
that I'm able to do a live stream. That's something because I didn't used to be able to do that.
So we
But
have to
okay.
talk amongst ourselves, huh? No, all right.
Okay. Now, I know how
bitches,
to
right?
show it. I just
Bitches.
play it.
Exactly,
You should be able to hear it, right? If I play it, you should be able to hear it.
Well, if you play it and
Sure.
share it, yes, he will.
Well, you won't be
Oh,
able to
I've
see
already
it.
heard it. I recorded it. Everybody else needs to hear
Okay,
it.
well, I'm going to try to play it. So here, you guys listen.
Okay. Can anybody hear it? I can't.
Can
I
you hear
heard,
it?
and that was it.
Can you hear it?
No.
No,
Oh, okay. I do have to share it. So give me a second. Shit. Okay.
That's
Bitches, man.
Great
Alright.
intro.
Janet, were you a blonde in your previous life?
Well, no, but
Oh, she's
maybe
blonde
I
right
should
now.
dye my hair blonde right now. Let's see. Okay,
Change your
here we go. Here we go.
What? You said it, Thornvald.
So give me 1 second. I don't know how to do this here. Just give me a second.
If I went to all this trouble to do this and you don't play it.
Okay, I figured out how I can do it. Just give me 1 second. God darn it.
So, anybody go blind from the eclipse? No?
What?
All right.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to fill dead air, Ruben. You
I
know what?
Keep doing it. Hold on.
Wait,
I'm
hold
almost
on. Where's my glasses?
done. Okay.
Okay.
We can do this.
Oh, you meant another pair of glasses, the other one you're wearing. Got it.
Okay. I'm going to do it on my phone
Okay.
because I don't know how to
That's
do
the
it.
professionalism you can expect from the shit show
It's saying
2.0.
that it's got a
Oh my
blocked
God.
screen or something like that. So I don't know why it won't let me do this.
What I suggest, why don't you put it up as a video on your YouTube channel and people can check it out afterwards?
Oh, I really wanted to play this.
I did too. I was actually kind of proud of it.
Bummed out. I know. I think it's great. So
Well,
just
actually, I
hold-
sent you
think
two. I sent you one
got it
for
now.
this show too.
Yeah, hold on. I think it's gonna work.
There you. Oh, okay.
You see?
Come with him if you want to live.
Come with me if you want to live. See, you get the reference here. See my glasses? And I took out my
Okay.
glasses. I took out my
Okay,
glasses.
I'm gonna play it so everybody can listen.
I
Okay,
love
you guys
Airplane.
ready?
Robert Stack. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay, here we
Okay,
go. I
yeah,
gotta
we hear
turn it
you.
up. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am telling you some great news.
Can't hear it.
Thursday, April 19th, 9 p.m. Eastern. Join Tanner from Another Planet and myself, the Emperor, for the Shit Show 2.0. 60 minutes of paid informative opinions on today's news, gaming, internet trends, and
It hurts.
But it does hurt.
so mark your calendars, clear your schedules, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell the fat kid who brings you your donuts.
That's the
about
best line.
Shit Show 2.0.
It is.
The best hour you'll spend all week. We'll see you this Thursday, every Thursday. Yeah, Bubble, YouTube, and of course, X.
That was the best line. You barely got to hear it. Tell the fat kid who brings you your donuts.
Sorry, but I'm going to get it and fix it so I can share it. And I'll share it on all my platforms and stuff. But yeah, that's something I've been wanting to do for a while. And I really appreciate you doing that because I know that it took time out of your schedule to do that. And I really appreciate it. Just wanted to say that. But oh, hi, Devil Flyer. Thank you for stopping in.
I expect all of you in the chat tonight to be there on Thursday. If I've got to do this, so do you.
Well, I appreciate it because I really want to do something new and try something new since my whole schedule's been changed because of Bruce's job and everything we do now is on the weekends. So my weekends basically, filled up with playing Dungeons and Dragons, the regular game, and then playing the next Saturday on the beta. The beta game to try to help him write. He's writing his own game, and we're playing it to see what needs to be worked on and his adjustments and stuff for his manual and things like that. So I like doing it. It's fun. And then on Sunday, we watch our movie. And then and then we do the review right after. And this week on Sunday this weekend, we're going to watch the movie Amazon Women on the Moon. And then we're going to do the review. And I've made a costume. I hope it turns out okay, because I'm going to dress up as Amazon Queen. So we'll see if it works out the way I'm hoping. But we'll find out, because I've never seen the movie. So I just went by some set photos I found. So, and then I went and got some material and stuff like that. So we'll see how it works out. But
so what? Never mind. God, that's bad. So what are you gonna?
He's a blonde, so maybe I can play a blonde. We'll see how it works.
Shoot.
So, hey, did you see what somebody said down here? You only pay us to show up one night a week.
I had somebody ask me earlier at the start type of the show, which is what this person said, what's a license to ill? I'm like, my God, really?
What does that mean?
Jesus, really?
Yeah.
Does no one know what a license to ill is? Ruben, please, you've got your mouth hanging over. Tell her.
I know it's a song or something.
It's one of the best albums ever made from the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
License to Ill.
Beastie Boys. I knew who they were, but
Beastie Boys.
I didn't know the name of that album.
The person who asked me, I'm guessing, probably isn't over the age of 30 then. What's a license to ill? Did you mean kill? No, I meant ill. Why do you want to get sick? I hate the internet and I hate people.
Okay, well, explain what it means then.
No, it's a reference to a Beastie Boys album.
Yeah, I personally I think they're best. Yeah, it was called License to Ill.
Ill, it means cool or something.
In the 80s, it did. Now it just means COVID.
Okay. See, it went over my head.
Man, we had all the best words in the 80s.
I'm a nerd. I wouldn't understand that stuff.
Take all that away from us. I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing ill back. I'm bringing mint back too. Everything's mint.
Mental?
Oh, that's so mint. I'm bringing it back.
Oh, mint.
Mint for life.
Mint. Whatever.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming tonight. I really appreciate you hanging out with us. And because we wouldn't have a show if nobody watched it, right? So I really appreciate everybody on X. Everybody
I'm sure there's some people that are used to doing shows without anybody watching.
I really appreciate all of you, and I really appreciate you guys for being on here with me. It really makes me feel good, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
God.